Honorable members, let us take this moment for a silent prayer or meditation.
Mana ngoba nase siyaqala ngizokufonela ngoba kufuna ukuxoxela udaba abayikhulumayo olwemi.
Honorable Majopa Mthethwa, Honorable Majopa Mthethwa, ITC Chair of. Honorable members, you are reminded that this virtual sitting will be conducted in terms of the rules for virtual meetings, read with our existing standing rules in terms of rules of the rules for virtual meetings. The quorum requirement for virtual sittings of the House are provided for in the Constitution and the standing rules of the KZN legislature. Standing Rule 44 of the standing rules provides as follows. At least 1/3 of all the members of the legislature must be present to constitute a plenary meeting of the legislature. The rules for virtual meetings also define present as follows. Present means the attendance of a member in a virtual meeting by electronic means in a manner that allows the member to join and participate in the meeting. The Secretary has confirmed that we have the required 1/3 members present in order to commence with the virtual sitting. The sitting is therefore properly constituted. There is no matter which will require voting today, honorable members. We will now proceed with the rest of the matters on the oral paper. And we'll go to the apologies that we have received and processed. An apology from Honorable Mr. M. Bintuli, the MEC for Transport and Community Safety and Liaison, who has a government engagement. Another apology from MEC, the Honorable MEC R.R. Pillay, MEC for Finance, who has a pressing, unavoidable departmental matter to attend to. Another apology for Honorable Ms. P.H. Mbatacele, who will not attend today's sitting as she is attending to an agent matter. The Honorable M.E. Pakati will not be able to attend today's sitting. He has a family bereavement. The following honorable members will not be attending today's sitting due to their party's organizational commitment. Honorable Mr. A.V. Koza, Honorable Mr. M.W. Twala, Honorable Ms. G.F. Mjali, Honorable Ms. L.G. Seja, Honorable Mr. S.H. Mthethwa, Honorable Ms. N. Dlamini, and Honorable Ms. N. L. Mpaipeli, all from the EFF. Honorable members, we have these members who are not well. As you would remember, I apologized yesterday for Honorable Harris and the Deputy Speaker who are not well. We also have Honorable M. Govender and Honorable N. Mthethwa. They are also not well. May we remember them in our prayers. Honorable members, may we get to item number 4 on the order paper, any announcements or reports by the Premier? Honorable Premier, may we give you this opportunity to make a report or announcement? Honorable Zigalala?
I believe you can hear me.
Yes, Kuzeni, we can hear you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we wish to extend our greetings to you, Honorable Speaker, as well as all members, honorable members of the legislature. The provincial government of KwaZulu-Natal registered its serious concern about the continuing incidents of farm matters. In the recent incident, farming couple by the name of Glenn as well as Vita Rafeta were brutally murdered at their farm in the Nomadini area near Newcastle. In dealing with this and to stem the tide on these senseless attack and killings, and to cultivate a climate of peace and safety, the provincial government, led by the Department of Agriculture, Rural Land and Rural Development, together with the Premier, will this weekend hold an engagement with farm workers and farmers in Amajuba with a view to finding a solution to this challenge. By engaging with these communities, we believe that we will be able to find an appropriate solution. But more than that, all stakeholders will be there. Honorable Speaker, we welcome the announcements by the President yesterday about the progression of our country to alert level 1. However, we wish to appeal to all members of the legislature to continue sending a message and educating our people about the fact that COVID-19 is still with us and it is still dangerous. And even right now, we still don't have a cure. And therefore, let us all apply protective measures that have been presented as protocols by the National Command Council on Coronavirus. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. We go to item 5 on the paper, which is tablings. The Education Portfolio Committee will table its report on the 2021 Special Adjustment Budget Report. Is there any other tabling that we might have missed that any member wants to make now?
Honorable Speaker, beside the education, greetings to you first, Honorable Speaker. We would want to table the Education Portfolio Committee Special Adjustment Budget Report, as we have said, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Is there any other tabling that have not been mentioned?
Honourable Speaker.
Hello?
Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member, can you identify yourself because I can't see you on the videos? Honorable Speaker, can you please mute yourself, Honorable?
It's Honorable Msimango, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Msimango. Can you make your point, Honorable Member?
Honourable Speaker, the concern on Tiger, Honourable Speaker, because
what role in the
Honourable Speaker, this is a sitting of the legislature. So Honourable Speaker is wearing the ANC tie in the sitting.
No, what role are you raising on, Honourable Msimango? This is also a recorded sitting. What rule are you raising on?
It's Rule 50. I'll help you.
Yes, but Honourable Speaker is wearing the tie.
The national vote.
Ibhalwe. Msimango. No, Honorable Member. Honorable Dube. Honorable members. I know that you have been missing each other. But I sincerely request that we conduct ourselves in a manner that is consistent with who we are and how we've been conducting ourselves. I have been appreciating how you've been conducting ourselves. Honorable Msimango, which role are you rising on?
50.
Honorable Rogers, you are not?
Rule 50.
I will assist you, Honorable Msimango. Rule 50 says members may not members attire to preserve the decorum of the House. A member must dress formally or traditionally, provided that a member may not wear any political party regalia. You would remember from the previous rulings that a political party regalia is when you wear something that is written your party, IFP, ANC, DA. Anybody that is wearing like blue, royal blue, that I wear and any other members wear, and the colors that you wear is not taken as wearing colors. So I think that your raising of the role was incorrect and out of context. Can we continue, honorable members, with the order of the day? Thank you.
Point of order, Speaker.
Thank you, Somlomo.
Angakhala uSpeaker ngelinye ilanga.
Honorable Speaker.
Point of order,
Honorable
Speaker.
Rogers, we are on Honorable Rogers now. Honorable Rogers.
Thank you,
Honorable
Speaker.
Rogers is on the floor, honorable members. Honorable Rogers.
Thank you for your protection, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also just want to rise under Rule 50, and it's not a tie, but I also noticed that when the Premier spoke, he has a picture of some comrade in the back there with an ANC logo on it, and the curtains are also in ANC colours.
I did not note the picture. I will have to look into the record to make a proper ruling. But the color, the curtains I noted. Rashika, please switch off your mic there. IT, switch off your mic there. Honorable Premier, mute your mic also, please. I am making a ruling. Honorable Rogers, as I was saying, I will go back and look at the alleged photo that you speak about. I did not notice it. But what I noticed, Honorable Premier, I will come back to you. I am making a ruling. I will go back to the recording and make and note on the picture, and I will make a ruling because I did not notice that there was a photo. What I noted were the curtains. The curtains that were behind were the same as the tie of Honorable Sidia, which are the same as colors that are worn in terms of Rule 50. They were not written anything because I looked at the curtains also myself, so that in case they were the improper curtains, I would have raised a point of order. Honorable Premier, I can see you want to speak. You will speak after Honorable Swart Pointombela. I had noted Swart Pointombela before you, Premier. Then I'll come to the Premier. Honorable Swart Pointombela.
Honorable Speaker, may I crave your indulgence, Honorable Speaker? I just want to table the report of the Portfolio Committee of Social Development on the revised budget estimates. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Question of the Portfolio Committee on Social Development. Honorable, the report is tabled as a record of the House. Honorable Premier, you were indicating.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I can see, Honorable Speaker, that Honorable Mwanga loves these colors.
We can't see the Premier. Can he please put his camera on, Madam Speaker, in terms of the standing rules?
Honorable Premier,
yes.
If you want to speak, you will have to sit on your video.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
And so, okay.
I was just saying that he loves...
Honorable Premier,
yes.
Honorable Premier, now you have just assisted me to make a determination. The photo behind you is improper for the House. You are not supposed to sit in a picture whilst you are in this House. You are not supposed to sit in front of a picture with an emblem of a political party. I am going to allow the Premier to find a suitable place to sit or remove the photo. You are not going to further input in this matter, Premier, because that photo, Premier, what you have just done, Honorable Premier, what you have just done is everything that is wrong. You should have allowed me to finish and told you that the Honorable Premier must correct that. I'm giving you time to correct that. You will not be speaking on this matter, Honorable Premier, because we've just determined that. Can we move to the orders of the day? I mean, to the second, on the orders of the day.
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. My hand was up. I was on the table, Honorable Speaker.
You
as
can
the
table.
portfolio.
Thank you. Apologies. You can table.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
I wish to table the revised budget report for the Premier Portfolio Committee 2020-21. Thank you.
Thank you. That tabling is noted. Can we now move to item number 6, formal motions or notices by the Chief Whip? Item 6 on the order paper.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. There are no formal motions and notices from our side. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip. We are going to now move to item number 7 on the order paper, which is orders of the day. Honorable members, I will be presiding interchangeably with the Deputy Chair of Committees. Now, we are going to item 7.1, the debate on Vote 5, Education Special Adjustment Budget. And to start off that, we'll have a report by MEC of Education on Education Special Budget for 30 minutes. The Honorable MEC K.I. Mshengu.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I hope I am audible, Speaker. And we really want to greet all honorable members in the House, the Honorable Premier of the province, Chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee on Education, members of the Executive Councils, all stakeholders who have joined us today, and all the people of KwaZulu-Natal who are following us today. We rise yet again in the midst of the global pandemic, the coronavirus, which has threatened to bring the entire world to its knees. And we rise to present the special adjustment budget for 2020-2021 financial year. And just like other departments, it is no secret that we started this financial year on a very bad note, where we found ourselves having to work around the clock, trying to deploy all strategies and resources at our disposal to a vigorous fight against COVID-19 pandemic. As we present this special adjustment budget, Honorable Speaker, we are guided by the timeless counsel by Amilcar Cabral, who once said, and I quote, "Hide nothing from the masses of our people, tell no lies, expose lies whenever they are told, mask no difficulties, mistakes and failures, claim no easy victories," unquote. This has been indeed the most difficult period we have had to live in since the advent of democracy. In the quest to save the future of our learners, we have encountered many difficulties and suffered setbacks. That our schools are now operating for all grades has not really been an easy victory. Even today, we continue to manage difficulties and challenges on a daily basis. The fact that COVID-19 hit us when our system is still grappling with the historical challenges of water provision, dilapidating school buildings in rural areas in particular, and absence of proper ablution facilities in some parts of our schools compounded our interventions. While dealing with the impact of closing our schools on the curriculum, we also found ourselves having another huge task on our shoulders of saving the lives of our learners and teachers, as the need to reopen grades in a phased-in approach was deemed necessary after after elaborate consultation with the rest of the stakeholders. However, as South Africans, we have a history of emerging victorious in all the most difficult and dangerous battles, like we did when we faced the brutality meted out by the apartheid government, and we have no doubt that will also defeat COVID-19. Our mental fitness has always enabled us to be better prepared to deal with anything that is thrown in our direction. As former Chinese general and military strategist Sun Tzu says in his book, The Art of War, victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. We also win this battle, or we will win this battle because we won it mentally before we even fired our first salvo, in a form of taking all the precautionary measures that are needed in the fight against COVID-19. On the impact on the schooling system, the COVID-19 has completely altered the schooling system in a manner never anticipated. With the return of all grades in schools, it became practically impossible to accommodate all of them at once and still maintain social distancing as a precautionary measure. Consequently, we've had to adopt a differentiated timetabling and embark on grades rotation. This means, honorable members, that we still are unable to have all the learners in class at least for 5 days a week. The provision of mobile classrooms in schools with large enrollment was also a necessary intervention that we had to make. However, the lack of funds and space in some schools meant that we could not provide for all the requests. In some schools, we had to opt for desk shields in order to make sure that learners are accommodated. The department has also had to contend with the protection of teachers aged over 60 and above, and those who have comorbidities, as they remain at high risk if infected by coronavirus. The Education Labour Relations Council entered into a collective agreement number 1 of 2020 to regulate concessions for high-risk employees. The department received 5,970 applications for concessions in line with the collective agreement. In terms of the collective agreement, those employees who had applied and granted concessions were further required to make arrangements with their principals on how they will be utilized during the period of concessions. School principals and their management teams were required to reconfigure their timetables, and as an outcome of these reconfigurations of timetables by school management teams, 2,015 substitute educators were allocated to schools to replace educators whose applications for concessions were approved. In terms of the non-negotiables, Honorable Speaker, set by the department and the stakeholders in the sector, the department had to ensure the provision of cleaners and screeners in all schools. As a result, the department provided cleaners in 3,877 schools that did not have state-appointed cleaners. This was initially for 3 months ending in August 2020, and now has since been extended to the 31st of December 2020. Moving forward, the department will be recruiting the cleaners through the EPWP program in view of the budgetary constraints. The department also appointed 6,000 screeners in partnership with the Department of Public Works, who assisted us a great deal in the payment of stipends. This partnership was initially for 3 months ending on the 31st of August again, but we have since extended the appointment of screeners to the 31st of December 2020. The appointment and payment of the screeners was initially done by the Department of Public Works, who have since indicated that they are no longer able to fund this program beyond the month of August. As of September, the department has entered into an MOU which has resulted with Public Works, which has resulted in the screeners being paid their stipend on a recurring basis through PESAL to avoid complaints of non-payment and late payment. In essence, Honorable Speaker, here we are counting on the fact that while the Department of Public Works has indicated that they will no longer be able to carry the cost of screeners, we have entered into an MOU that they should continue retaining the screeners on their PESAL, and the Department of Education will then pay through Public Works. But we have also decided that the screeners should be paid through PESAL so that we eradicate the problem of non-payment and late payments. We want our screeners to be paid on a regular basis, and on a predictability basis, so that they can know that come next month we are paid on this particular date, and we will pay them on exactly that particular date, just like all of us know when we are paid, and we are able to plan our lives based on that knowledge of when we are going to be paid. Now, on creating legacy projects out of COVID-19, honorable members, beyond this veil of darkness, we should be able to emerge with legacy projects that will change the environment in our schools. COVID-19 has taught us the value of being focused, deliberate, and prioritized interventions. Our schools have had a problem of water provisions for the longest time. And this is not just a peculiar problem of schools, because schools are in communities and therefore they're a reflection of what is happening in our community. So when a community is without water, it goes without saying that the school will also have the challenge of water. However, as of today, all deserving schools have static water tanks to harvest and store water. Over and above this, to alleviate the cost of providing water to schools, we have embarked on a program of drilling boreholes in some schools. This will ensure that water is available on a constant basis. Just over 1,000 schools have been identified to benefit through this program of boreholes in this year, and studies are continuing on other schools to check the availability of underground water. There are also schools across the province that have improper structures of a National School Nutrition Program. Some have had to convert classrooms into kitchens and thereby reducing space for teaching and learning. To address this challenge, the department has procured 300 kitchens, and these will be distributed in schools that are in dire need for now. The intention is to ensure that we eradicate all improper NSNP structures in our schools. Where the space and resources permit, we'll build brick and mortar structures. The existence of improper ablution facilities in some of our schools continues to undermine the dignity of our teachers and learners. The state of ablution facilities has meant that we incur more costs in providing chemical toilets as part of the fight against COVID-19, and this is not sustainable. To address this challenge, the department has doubled its effort in the program of the eradication of pit latrines. As it stands, 229 new structures have been completed, 435 currently on site, 220 on tender, and 440 on design. On the repurposing of funds within various programs. Honorable members, it is public knowledge that the main appropriation for the Department of Education was 57.247 billion in the 2020-2021 financial year. However, during this period or during this year, the COVID-19 pandemic resulted in the department having to repurpose its budgets internally in the response to the pandemic. The following accounts on the repurposing of 2020-2021 budget towards procurement of COVID-19 essentials. A total of 558.586 million was repurposed to fund COVID-19 pressures, mainly in respect of Program 2, which is public ordinary schools. 550 million was within the equitable share funding, was reprioritized within the equitable share funding from the compensation of employees in respect of vacant funded substitute and temporary educators posts. 8.586 million was repurposed in respect of conditional grants, mainly from compensation of employees in respect of vacant budgeted posts. It should be noted that some grant frameworks were amended by the National Treasury to allow provinces to utilize a portion of funds towards the provincial COVID-19 response. 32 million that was within goods and services across and within the programs. In this regard, 8 million was from the bursaries for employees in Program 2. 8 million was from the sub-program sports and culture to sub-program public primary level for consumable supplies. 6 million was within the inventory and other supplies from the procurement of LTSM. 5 million was from the program Human Resource Development in Program 4, which is public special schools, and Program 5 dealing with early childhood development, and was allocated to advertising in Program 1, which is administration. In Program 1, under sub-program Human Resource Development, 5 million was towards advertising for broadcasting of the curriculum in various media platforms during the nationwide lockdown to ensure curriculum delivery was not severely affected, especially for matriculants. 80 million was within the transfers and subsidies to non-profit institutions in Program 2. These were funds which were not allocated to specific schools as per the Gazette. This will now be utilized to comply with COVID-19 regulations by ensuring that schools have cleaning and grass cutting services. To this end, these funds has been transferred to school for this purpose. As we indicated earlier on, Honorable Speaker, Department of Public Works undertook to identify and actually allocated 38 million from within their budget to provide funding for 6,000 screeners to be placed in schools in the fight against COVID-19. Now, budget cuts effected against conditional grants. Honorable members, I wish to indicate that the department's conditional grants allocation was decreased by 517 million. Of this amount, 497 million was reduced from education infrastructure grant. It should also be noted that 117 million of this this cut from EAG, which is Education Infrastructure Grant, was utilized by the National Department of Basic Education to provide water in 1,125 schools in the province through the contract with Rand Water. It should also be noted that 15 million was reduced from the life skills education, which is HIV and AIDS grant, and an amount of 5 million was reduced from math, science, and technology grant. On additional allocation of additional funding, the department's equitable share budget was increased by 1 billion to fund COVID-19 spending pressures. These funds were allocated in 3 programs, largely to provide for the purchase of PPE, provision of water, desk shields, the broadcasting of curriculum in various media platforms during the nationwide lockdown, as well as the administration of examinations. The entire additional budget was allocated as follows: the 1 billion which we got. Program 1, which is administration, got 15 million. Program 2, which is public ordinary schools, received 943 million. The examinations and education related services received 42 million. And that comes to a total of 1 billion, which is an additional funding. But we also want to indicate, Honorable Speaker, that given the budget cuts which we accounted for above, actually the main adjustment resulted in the department's budget increasing by a net amount of 482 million. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, while the declining numbers of infection gives a sense of hope and relief, the virus still exists and remains dangerous. This therefore means our efforts to fight it with all that we have should not stop. We must continue fighting it until it is defeated. For us to successfully defeat it, we all need to unite, close ranks, and ensure that it has no space to survive. The hard work and commitment that we have seen from many of our employees during this difficult time is really commendable. I have no doubt that if we continue working as hard as we have done in the past couple of months, a lot will be achieved. The leadership and support of the Premier and our colleagues in the executive has been unwavering. It is such kind of support that makes us realize the power of working together. Similarly, our MPLs led by the Honorable Speaker and the Portfolio Committee on Education led by the Chair, as well as the organized labor, have also played a huge role in making us successfully navigate through this difficult period. The monitoring visits that many of you continue to undertake to various schools across the province have really yielded a number of positive spin-offs. We remain hopeful that we'll continue taking education of our children as a national duty beyond political lines. I wish to pay homage to the educators and other office-based staff who regrettably succumbed to COVID-19. The role they played in the education of the national assets will forever be etched in the annals of history. Let us rise up and put our best foot forward and fight this invincible enemy until it surrenders. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
report that you've presented to us on education special adjustment budget. And thank you, Honorable Speaker, for affording me the opportunity to preside over this august engagement. I'll therefore call upon the Honorable Member from the ANC, who is the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable N.M. Sibiya, to come to the fore and debate for 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let us greet the Premier of this province, Baba Zigalala Kuzeni Siabingelela. All executive members that are here are part of this debate. The members of the legislature, all of them. Honorable Chairperson, we are here presenting the report by the Portfolio Committee of Education on 2020-21 Special Adjustment Budget on Vote 5. Honorable members of the House, we are all aware of the COVID-19 Special Adjustments Budget that was tabled by Minister of Finance on the 24th June 2020. The Special Adjustments Budget outlined massive budget reprioritization undertaken by government on both national and provincial levels to enable it to respond to COVID-19 pandemic. The Department of Education has been adversely affected by COVID-19, namely as follows: numerous weeks of lost teaching and learning, amending the learning calendar to ensure a smooth examination process, remodifying classes to meet the standard of social distancing. Honorable Chairperson, it is due to the above-mentioned factors that it is one of the key departments in government response to this pandemic and was thus accordingly funded. But we still understand that this department is underfunded. It is due to this Chairperson, this pandemic has impacted on our education system and affected our provincial budget. It has forced the education department to reprioritize and rethink its spending plans in the current financial year. Honorable Chairperson, I want to remind this House that this province is the biggest department of education in the entire country, with more than 6,000 schools, and the impact of the COVID-19 will always definitely be much bigger than in any other province, because we are the biggest department in the entire country. But the MEC mitigated and managed the situation so well with this team. We pride ourselves in a manner this young MEC has handled the pandemic that has never been seen before in the history of humankind. This department needs to be funded accordingly. It's a lesson that we have learned during this pandemic. The Department of Education presented its 2020-21 Special Adjustment Budget to the Education Portfolio Committee on the 8th of September 2020 during a budget hearing. The Portfolio Committee were made aware that the department's equitable share allocation was increased by 1 billion rands, and it had to reprioritize 1.2 billion within its own current budget. The committee recognizes that these funds were allocated to 3 programs, largely to cater for the purchase of PPEs, provision of water and sanitation, chemical toilets, desk shields, mobile classrooms, broadcasting of lessons on various media platforms during the nationwide lockdown, and addressing of vandalized schools. And we must mention this, Chairperson, that the issue of vandalized schools and vandalization of schools in this province really need all of us to take it up in arms and stop it. Because if we don't stop it, we will be compromising the future of our children. And this department currently is being compromised because quite a lot of funding is used to address the issue of vandalized schools. The committee noted with concern the decrease in the department conditional grants allocation by 517 million rands as follows. 497 million was reduced from education infrastructure grant, 15.008 million was reduced from HIV and AIDS life skills education grant, and 5.069 million was reduced from the Math, Science and Technology MST grant. The decreases the decrease in the education infrastructure grant by 497 million was of specific concern to the committee, and the adverse impact it would have on the province infrastructure planning and delivery management will be massive and will be great, because this section of the department has been doing so well. We've been seeing schools being built. We've been seeing some schools and classes being renovated. So now it's going to give us quite a lot of challenges regarding the issues of infrastructure, which we know so well that we still have a huge backlog on it. The committee was, however, pleased to be advised by the department that part of these cut funds, 197 million of it will be directed to the provision of water in KZN schools through the Department of Basic Education's program that it does and roll out with Rand Water. In this regard, much needed water will be provided through this mechanism to 1,125 schools in KwaZulu-Natal, and the drilling of borehole program by the MEC, it's one of the programs that will see us eradicating the challenges of water in this province from our schools. The Portfolio Committee recognizes that these budgetary cuts and reallocations are necessary to support the COVID-19 relief and overall assist in government's response to help prevent the spread of this pandemic. Adoption of the 2020-21 Special Adjustment Budget. After the committee noted the above consent on the budget, the Portfolio Committee supported the 2020-21 Special Adjustment Budget as follows. African National Congress, which is the ANC, supported the budget. The Inkatha Freedom Party, which is the IFP, supported the adjustment budget, special adjustment budget. The minority parties also supported. The Democratic Party reserved their right to adopt. Chairperson, in closing on this matter of this report, I would like to express my appreciation to the MEC, Honorable Gwazim Shemu. His energy and commitment is recognized in the department. The committee appreciates his commitment and the manner he engages with the committee. The committee appreciates the work that he has done in a short space of time he has been in the department, but also has been confronted by massive challenges that the department has been faced with. We also appreciate the work done by the HOD, Dr. Nzama, the acting CFO, and all officials for the Department of Education, the unions, our teachers in particular, and the principals, the parents who are part of the stakeholders, for doing their best to improve the state of education in our province. Many thanks also goes to the Portfolio Committee members, a very special type of a committee team which always rises to the occasion for their positive contributions towards issues pertaining education. In addition, my appreciation wants to go to the support staff of the committee for their valuable input to both the budget and the APP, but also for their work and the respect they always give to the committee. We highly appreciate it. That's where we end with the report that we are reporting on the adjustment. But Chairperson, we want to continue with the little time that we are having to say some few things. Chairperson, we want to say that the ANC will continue to advance the fight against the ugly head of racism, which has become permanent feature.
Order, Chair.
Really.
Which has become the permanent feature in our society, in our schools.
Order, Chair.
Honorable Sbia. Honorable Kaunda.
No, thanks, Chair. As a point of order, that part is not part of our report, so the Chair cannot abuse the slot of the committee and talk about the ANC on the committee slot. It's out of order, Chair.
Rule.
I second you, Kapisi.
Thank you.
We won it. There's Honorable Mchadi, speak about it.
Honorable Sbia, your time is up.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. That was the report by the chairperson of the Education Portfolio Committee.
Well done, Honorable Speaker.
I am going to call upon the speaker as we engage in our debate. The first speaker from the ANC, Honorable T.S. Mtshali, is afforded 9 minutes. You may start as the time is starting now.
Thanks, Madam Chair, Honorable Speaker, Ntombeko Boys, our Premier, Khuzeni, the MEC of Education in KwaZulu-Natal, Honorable Gwazimshengu, Education Portfolio Committee Chair, Honorable Sbia, honorable members, kindly receive my revolutionary greetings this morning. Some few months back, around June, Honorable Chair, I stood here and argued to our young people that tomorrow will be better than today. And I am here again, Honorable Chair, to affirm that indeed we are able to confirm that tomorrow is getting better than today. When President Cyril Ramaphosa addressing the basic education Lekgotla in January said, and I quote, "We are building an education system that will help free the potential of each of our citizens so that they too can enjoy the dividends of our hard-won freedom," close quote. This is the type of education we are pursuing as an African National Congress, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, after our country was put under lockdown, our learners were directly affected by this, and the teachers, as well as the department. As a result, the department has to play its role to ensure, despite the existence of the pandemic of COVID-19, the 2020 academic year had to be saved at all costs, and certain strategic steps needed to be taken. This brought lots of challenges, as the era of teaching and learning was no longer going to be what was or has always been known to be in the environment with regards to school. But the ANC-led government, as the only hope of our people, it did not fail to do whatever that was necessary to ensure a healthy, safe, and conducive environment for teaching and learning, Honorable Chair. There, as a result, the Department of Education in our province undertook to implement education infrastructure program. This was aiming in improving teaching and learning in conditions of the existence of COVID-19 within our schools. These, amongst other things, Honorable Chair, included repairs to vandalized schools, maintenance of school infrastructure, dislodging of sanitation facilities, repairs and renovation to school infrastructure, as well as repair to the storm-damaged schools. During this period, when we were under lockdown, as it was declared in March, some of our schools were subjected to vandalism, with several schools losing valuable equipment to thieves and those who robbed the schools. The province reported about 467 vandalized schools in the province in various districts. The department has repaired 401 schools, with 66 currently undergoing the procurement processes for repairs. Repairs were completed for schools such as Esidimeni Primary, Sabelo Secondary School, Amajuba, and Hlabisa Primary, Mbopha High School in Mkhanyakude. Those amongst the schools that could be mentioned, Honorable Chair. The department developed a maintenance plan responding to the school infrastructure requiring maintenance within our province. The department has 270 schools planned to be implemented and delivered within the financial year of 2021. The focus with regards to the maintenance on sanitation includes dislodging of schools and rehabilitation and renovation of ablution facilities. The department was allocated specifically, Honorable Chair, about 64 million, mainly for maintenance and repairs on the ablution facilities, as well as dislodging within our schools. The repairs and renovation to our school continues to be undertaken at schools to address situations such as storm damaged school, and the province continue to experience the inclement weather condition that worsens the storm damage backlog. So the more they were building schools, but we continue to find that our schools are subjected to storm damage as we understand the climate change within our community. Honorable Chair, with all that has been done by the department, however, the department continues to experience challenges, which, amongst other things, vandalism of infrastructure in schools, where we must call the society to protect the schools within their communities. Remember that any school that is destroyed, it's a future that is destroyed. It is only through education that we can confirm a better life for our learners, for it is only through them achieving true education that not only do they become a reflection of the society they come from, but they continue to be a shining star within the society based on the education that they've received. The budget constraint, Honorable Chair, in light of the excessive need to address the black laws, continue to be the challenge. COVID-19 pandemic with regards to the non-negotiable highlights the increased need in access to water, sanitation, and additional learning space. With all the challenges that has been brought with COVID-19, Honorable Chair, we must stand here today confirming that we went through with our learners and teachers this journey. We assured them that we'll provide water, and we did provide water. We assured them that we'll provide clean environment so that they're able to wash their hands and sanitize so that they stay safe. We provided that. We said they must have a social distancing. We provided more mobile toilets, so that mobile classes, so that we ensure the social distancing in terms of the sitting arrangement in school. We said we care about our teachers, those that have comorbidities. We're given an opportunity to work from home because we are an organization that believes in working closely with the working class and the workers. There could never be a revolution without the workers. Therefore, we ensured that their safe was prioritized to us. We said that they must continue to get nutrition. They got nutrition. But on top of that, they got their food in proper clean kitchens. As the Department of Education, we also added more kitchens, mobile kitchens, so that this is adhered to. Word said, we want to save the 2020 academic year. Today, young learners across the entire province of KwaZulu-Natal are writing their trial exams. And we are proud because this continues to ensure that as we save this, but we save their future. As a revolutionary organization, we have to balance their safety and health as well as their future. And indeed, a country that does not invest to its youth does not deserve to pay its fruits. Honorable Mshengu, we want to say that we commend you within your department, knowing that KwaZulu-Natal is the biggest number in terms of education system. Within a very short space of time, all the non-negotiables that we had assured and promised our people that we do, we did deliver. We want to say to you, Honorable Mshengu, victory goes to those who know what must be done next. And the ANC have proven during these difficult times of the pandemic that it's only us who know what is needed to be done next, and we have done it. Already we are speaking about the recovery plan, which must go beyond the COVID-19. But Honorable Chair, I will not be doing justice without mentioning that the class struggle within our society had really been showing during this time of pandemic. Those that come from advantaged school vis-a-vis those that come from a disadvantaged school were given a clear indication that if you come from disadvantaged schools that were not taken care of by the apartheid regime, you are bound to be subjected to difficulties of not having access to internet, of not being able to have proper study material that should be able to assist you. And those that are in advantaged schools that were only attended to by the apartheid regime were always given an advanced stage so that they have become more opulent than any other in the society. So the class struggle this time around, we ought to take it and confront it head on. We dare not fail, we dare not stop until we are able to ensure that we confirm the education that President Cyril Ramaphosa had spoken about when he was addressing at Honorable Chair. Because indeed, it is only through education that you can ensure a better life for our people. It is only through education that you can produce these young learners to be the best for their country. As I conclude, Honorable Chair, I do want to say to our society, we must protect our schools, because if we are protecting our schools, we are protecting the future of our learners. Any thug that destroys our schools, we must be in the forefront to ensure that they are apprehended, and we must call upon law enforcement officers to decisively deal with such perpetrators, because they have no space in our society. And we continue to say to you, learners, as we move to level 1 regulation, it is the promise that we had made as an ANC government that tomorrow will be better than today. And I say to you, indeed, tomorrow will be better than today, because the ANC government, as we've worked this journey with you, we continue to work this journey again with you until you are the future of this country. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Ali. That's quite a moving debate. Let us move. We'll get from IFP, Honorable Tipim Tetwa, who will speak for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me first quote the President Emeritus of the IFP. I quote, "We are in politics because we want to serve our people. It is not a matter of choice. We are facing something worse than even a war situation. The time for petty politicking is over. We are not going to fight this evil facing us, which is the poverty of our people, unemployment, inequalities, COVID-19, unless we do so as a united nation." I close quote. The IFP noted the Department of Education's adjustment budget with concerns. We are concerned about the rapid looting in personal protective equipment procurement that took place under this department. We welcome the decision by the department to suspend 2 SCM officials at director level after Auditor General had picked up irregularities, including overquoting by some officials at supply chain management level, where 2 companies run by 1 director quoted for the same item. Companies that were not registered with the central database system were awarded contracts, and some companies were not tax compliant or had provided fraudulent BEE scores. We in the IFP feel that this is not enough. More people should be suspended, including those who approved these contracts. Every official who enabled and facilitated procurement corruption in the department must be shown the door. The department top management claimed that the 943 million received on Program 2 for PPE procurement, replacement teachers and screeners were still not enough. Yet, the department committed itself in paying excessive prices for the PPEs to shady contractors so that it can loot COVID-19 funds. For example, we have proof that a company called Promet Technology sells 25-liter sanitizers for 950, just like many other companies. If you can just go there, you can find that. But somehow, the very same company sold sanitizers 25-liter, 4,350 per 25-liter container from the same company. Ooh, how did this happen? What negotiations and corruption agreement took place for this company to charge the department 5 times more than the normal price? Who benefited in this transaction? The department abandoned many suppliers with cheaper prices so that they can go on a looting spree, thinking they were not going to be exposed. We demand that this money be paid back, all of it. To make matters with, another company called GS's project scored 27.5 million tender, which could have only costed the department 5 million. And if it was an honest tender, it used fake physical address, postal address on CIPC database that does not exist in Pietermaritzburg. In 2019, the same company was almost deregistered by CIPC, which means that the company is dormant. These shady tender contracts will be sent for investigation to the CIU and also reported to the Public Protector and Competition Commission. Taxpayers deserve better than this. We call upon the MEC to find a way to make Rand Water account for the shoddy work as an implementing agent of the Department of Basic Education, but inja ibambela umnikazi ngoba National Department ubesebenzela uDepartment of Education ngakho inkosana ke idla ikweletu nefa. It must not be held to account for the prices it procured water tanks and stand for, but also must be held accountable on the poor quality of these items. It did a horrible work and it must account for every cent. It left work undone, go away without taking responsibility for its questionable transaction. Some schools had not opened because of water problems. The departments must act with speed in resolving the issue of water supply by municipality to schools, which remain a challenge despite agreements that are already in place.
Honorable Mtetwa, your time is up. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. After Honorable Mtetwa, I'll call upon from DA Honorable Kika, who's going to speak for 5 minutes. Your time starts now.
Thank you, Chairperson. It sounded all good when the country was told that we have 500 billion rands to cushion against COVID-19 fiscal blow and a contribution to the Solidarity Fund. The reality is that that money had to come from somewhere. KZN contributed some 6.2 billion rands towards that, and we now know that there are investigations underway to find out how this money ended up in the pockets of connected comrades, while our children must now bear the brunt of the connected comrades. And this is absolutely shameless, Honorable Mchali. This is your ANC. The 517 million rand cut against grants possibly arising out of this donation allowed for some people to fill their pockets, leaving learners without enough furniture, broken roofs, windows, doors, cracked walls, poor quality chemical toilets, broken static tanks, and not enough money for desk shields, as we are told. This again, Honorable Mchali, is your ANC. I am very worried that the HOD told our committee that there are only 2 or 3 suppliers for desk shields in KwaZulu-Natal. Now, if anybody has to get a list and doesn't smell a rat, that there are only 2 or 3 suppliers in KZN, then I think we must get our heads checked. In the Harry Gwala district, the committee was told that there are still mud schools in the year 2020. This is absolutely disgraceful, Honorable Mchali, and the accounting officer cannot go on to feign ignorance. This is not just shameful, it begs who should be questioned for this and held accountable for it. On the 8th of this month, MEC Mshengu told us that water could not reach schools in the Umkanya-Kude district because there was no diesel to put in the tankers. We want to know from Honorable Mhlomuga also, if he's listening, who stole this money. And we now know, Honorable Kaula, that in the Nongoma municipality, officials are charging people for water. There is the Greek fabulous Mr. Aesop, who said, we hang the petty thieves and appoint the greater ones to public office. Honorable Kaluza is coming up. She must tell us about this. It is little wonder then that 120 million rand skullduggery into the sanitary pad matter was questioned further by the portfolio committee meeting. And we saw that officials were suspended. But we asked the question previously, and we asked it now again. Was the HOD of the department complicit? If he was, what actions will be taken to him? We said it from this podium a few weeks ago, and we say it now, that if the right thing is to be done, take the steps and suspend him too until he is cleared. And before you accuse me of not recognizing the fact that there was some accountability with the suspension of some officials, let me welcome those steps. But also let me express my worry about the matter that some officials were quietly returned to the department. Honorable Flongwa Matlala, you can tell us about that when you come up. Talking of reporting matters to the authorities, we welcome the fact that the SIU hasn't ignored the DA's call to probe this department. The Premier tried to whitewash the entire PPE's fraud and corruption with a report. But let us see what will come from a proper report. If anyone paid attention to the PPE disclosures by the Premier, you will see that even Ilanga newspaper was a supplier of certain items to the Department of Education. Really? Other companies such as African Grey Trading, Lionhead Projects, I don't know if these names are familiar to any of the members, need to be put under the microscope of the Competition Commission and the Consumer Commission. And if they were involved in any sort of collusion, they must speak up. It's actually embarrassing. The AG not only made scandalous findings against this department, but this department appeared before SCOPA not too long ago. And I'm told by the Honorable Rogers that they lied through their teeth, and this is now a matter of investigation. This is absolutely scandalous and scurrilous. Madam Speaker, if you are listening, there needs to be accountability for this. And the MEC must tell us if there will be any self-reproof, if at all. We stand here and recognize there will be most likely around 943 million rands over expenditure, that there may be large amounts of accruals, that there will be a first charge most probably. And when we asked the department about what they will do about this, well, they gave us a plan.
Honorable
about a
Keka,
plan.
you have timed yourself, as you can hear.
I started it
Your
before.
time is
I
up.
started it before.
It is up.
Is it up? Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Keka. We are going to have Honorable Dlamini for 6 minutes from the EFF. Siqala manje isikhathi sakho. Abekho. EFF ayikho. Oh, kwavela indaba. Then we pass from NFP, Honorable VR Mlotshwa, who has been allocated 2 minutes. Are you in, Mlotshwa?
Ngiyabonga Sihlalo.
Ithwakho uqala manje ke baba.
Sihlalo ohlaniphekile noma ungafaka lawa asela awe EFF ngiqhubeka. Sihlalo ohloniphekile. Siyayimukela isabelo mali ngaphansi kwembandela ethile. Sinxusa ukuba umnyango uqinisekise ukuthi imali eyabelwe wona isebenza ngendlela okuyiyo ezokwenza ukuba ingane zethu zifunde ngokukhululekile nakahle ezikoleni zazo. Mphathi Sigqiki, amanzi awekho ezikoleni eziningi. Amathangi awanamanzi, akhona amanye asalele phansi awakamiswa. Awanatende, awanalutho okufanele umnyango ukubheke lokho ngoba imali ikhishiwe yokuba ibheke lokho. Kwezinye zezikole amaklasi lawa ama-mobile classroom awakafiki, ingane zisaminyene okwenza ukuba ibanga phakathi kwezingane zigcine zicinene. Siqonda kahle futhi ukuthi lapha eHerigwala nasothukela kusekhona amagumbi odaka awayo okumele ukuba aqedwe ngokukhulu ukuphuthuma kulesi simo esibhekene naso ngoba nawo angabuya be isimo esenza ukuthi inhlanzeko ingabikho. Izindlu zangasese ezingomahamba nendlwana zisashoda kwezinye izikole ngoba azikafiki, ingane zisaquluse egangeni. Mhlonishwa Ngqongqoshe, kumele ubheke lokho ngoba kudala
Time is up, Honorable Mlotshwa. Uyangixolela isikhathi sakho siphelile. For another 2 minutes, Honorable Member Thakur Rajbansi from MF.
Yes. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair and members, the MF agrees that COVID-19 has impacted on the lives of educators, learners, and parents. Hence, we support this budget. Although this department has been adequately funded to manage the crisis, the department has been lackluster in initial planning. This has been proven by oversight visits and the reason for school closures the second time was foreseen. On reopening, the missing PPEs in Pinetown had occurred. Currently, of course, there's still shortage of PPEs in many schools as we speak in September, and this is worrisome. Yet the department has stated that a further 3 months stock was delivered by the end of August. So definitely there are communication gaps or there's misinformation. Many teachers are teaching from home due to comorbidities. Others are ill and still some have died. Last week, a pregnant educator in Msunduzi became COVID-19 positive. Other educators are worried. How are these situations being handled? Many principals, honorable members, especially from Quintile 5 schools, are desperate to manage their school finances because parents cannot afford to pay school fees due to economic hardship. So what's the department's plan in this regard? The MF calls for the scrapping of outstanding school fees for this year. Honorable Chair, as we speak about monopoly as distasteful, yet in education only one IT company is broadcasting lessons on various media platforms at an astronomical price. Yet this does not include giving data to educators and learners. Has anyone questioned this company's corporate social responsibility or costing? Therefore, I called in the general budget debate for a report on uniform pricing initiative by Provincial Treasury. If NCOP members are present here, they must question this at national. Honourable members, there must be feedback mechanism daily to the Department of Education about problems in the schools, because I can tell you examinations are approaching and the templates via the districts is not working effectively, Honourable MEC. This is a stressful time for everyone, but our learners need basic items to keep safe. This must be meticulously planned by the officials to ensure social distancing, hygiene, and the prevention of COVID-19.
Your time is up, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. From ANC, we are going to have Honourable VP Kaluza, who is going to speak for 9 minutes.
Honourable Chair, allow me first to address the matter that was raised by Honourable Kika on the one that was sharply raised even in our committee regarding the mud schools in Herigwala. Indeed, we cannot at any given moment celebrate the fact that we still have learners abafunda sihlalo ezikoleni ezisakhiwe ngodaka. However, we must indicate to the House that out of 9 schools that are left in the whole province of KwaZulu-Natal who are still regarded as mud schools, we have 3 that are under construction. So Honorable Kika, when he raises this issue, he must raise it with full information, because we do say, Slalo Uguti, we want to see a black child to also go to a school as within the same standards where his own kids go to. So Slalo, siyacela ukuthi when members address the House, they address it factually. Also on the issue of sanitary towels, Slalo, we all know that the report has been issued. It is currently a matter that is within the department, isakhujo. And we even indicated, Slalo, even in the committee, ukuthi abantu abayekuba uxhozas bahambe phambili bafune ukuthi Slalo bakhulume izinto asebevele beconclude ngazo ukuthi zenzeke kanjani. So please, can we allow the government to lead on this process as well? Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier Kuzen and members of the executive and honorable members of the House. Today, Slalowami, I must indicate that I am proud to be a South African. My pride is sponsored by the courage and the commitment of our heroes and heroines that went to battle with COVID-19, not knowing if they will return. Honorable Slalowami, I'm referring to the teachers and school management teams that proved to us that united we stand and divided we fall. The arguments and debates that ensued were out of love for the country that we know as a home and the country that beyond COVID-19 storm we want to see prosper. I also wish to take this opportunity to thank the MEC for education. It was not easy, but through his leadership and level-headedness, we were able to rise above the storm that could have easily drowned us as a country. Zungapheli mandla chakwe, umbutho wabantu thembe wena. Honorable Chairperson, a country that does not invest in skilling and educating its youth faces a bleak and a doomed future. reflecting on the past 6 months, not excusing some of the pitfalls that could have been avoided, necessitated that the department either adapt to the new changes or contribute to a much devastating and horrific future for our learners. The purchasing of personal protective equipment, sanitizers, modification and buying of new ablution facilities to help fight the pandemic, and renovation of classrooms and schools that were vandalized meant moving and shifting the budget to accommodate the new normal. Nobody could have predicted or projected this outbreak that has affected our budgeting over the MTEF. Slalo, due to the time limit, I will only highlight on the deviations on the following programs that are mainly affected due to COVID-19 cost. The public ordinary, with an estimated over expenditure of 943 million rands. This program covers the compensation of employees, which is about 23.1%, which about 23.1% are educators and public service support staff in schools. Goods and services that account for 19.4%, transfers and subsidies to non-profit institutions, which accounts for 23.8%. These transfers relate to payment of basic allocations and COVID-19 allocation to schools for the appointment of cleaners and grass cutting services. Another area that will incur an over expenditure will be the infrastructure program, with a projected over expenditure by 872 million rands, followed by exams and related programs with about 42 million rands over expenditure. Honorable Chairperson, for as long as we are expecting the department to adhere to COVID-19 regulations, this is a picture we are going to be seeing for a better time of our term. The department does require cash injection to minimize the impact of COVID-19. The department has a duty to implement the resolution of a special chamber with respect to the weekend and holiday classes that resolved to increasing the stipend of lead educators, payment of subsistence and traveling, stipends for EPWP screeners, and meals for learners at a rate comparable to the current National School Nutrition Program rate. As the country eases to level 1, and with all classes having returned to school, the issue of water management must be debated and resolved upon. We must also applaud the department for having delivered water and sanitation facilities in our schools when the first call to return the teaching and learning was made. However, we must sharply raise the substandard water stands that were delivered by Rand Water, which has greatly contributed to the delay of water tankers being installed in our schools. But equally, Chair, we must applaud the department for signing a binding SLA with service providers, which is but one of the commitments that the department will not tolerate substandard work or the delivery of items outside of specifications. This indeed, Chair, we are saying we must applaud, because it goes a long way to ensuring that we don't have the issue that was raised of Rand Water. But you must equally mention, Chair, that the stands that were delivered by the province, of the department in the province, were of high quality, and it's something that we note as also as a committee. We must applaud the department for speedily dealing with the corrupt culprits who were found to be involved in the cover coating. This is an indication that indeed no space for corruption is available in the Department of Education. And we must indicate that this, Chair, it did not wait for the portfolio committee to raise the matter, but it was raised by the department to us. And it's something that we must really applaud the department for. Honorable Chair, more demand for water will be made. And it is in this respect that once again we are calling on all stakeholders to collaborate, to work for water and to find a lasting solution to this challenge. And we also once again, we are called to serve, and serving we must do it with impartiality, humility and dedication. We must call on our matric class of 2020 to rise above and know that we are with them in prayer and in spirit as they fight to win the race of ensuring that they are better their lives and ensure that they produce results come the end of 2020. Honorable Chair, I will not be doing justice if I don't mention this. Speaker, we call upon our learners and we plead with them to stop bullying in school. We want to remind our learners that bullies have no space in our education system. Bullies have no space in our schooling system. What we saw happening in Matole High School must never happen in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, in the country, and anywhere else. It must be shunned, and it must be something that we must really say to our learners. Enough is enough. And we applaud the department for the manner in which they handled the situation. And we are saying anyone who is found to be involved must be called to book. As we conclude, Speaker, let us really appreciate the work that has been done by our teachers, our learners, the SGBs. And we say to them, siyabulela ngakho konke enikwenzile to ensure that our learners go back to schools, our learners go back and have education that they rightfully deserve. And we say to them, izandla zidlula ikhanda. We are saying to them, somlomo, nangomso bangadinwa, as we combat COVID-19, they must ensure that they continue to adhere to regulations. Siyabonga.
Your time is up. Thank you so much, Dr. Wetu.
Yeah.
From the ATM, we are going to have Honorable M.A. Phakathi, who is going to speak for 2 minutes. Honorable Phakathi, not in the house. Siyadlula. We move to ACDP, Honorable S.E. Manqele, for 2 minutes.
Speaker, may I greet you, greeting the Premier and all honorable members of the legislature. As ACDP, we support the bill or the budget. But we want to raise few points since I don't have time. It has been noted by us that in case that the highest rate of schools drop up is happening. We have got a 7 with 81.4% and grade 12 with 87%. Our concern is the prevention of since the dropping out of students is increasing the number of unemployed, also increasing the poverty in our country. I'm just challenging the department to see how this can be prevented and come up with a solution. Sengishilo local speaker, ngiyafisa ukukhuluma lento yekole eyimpofu neyicebile. Eze sithi sihlukanise sithe ezinye mhlambe ngenxa ye-apartheid enye ngenxa yani. It is in our shoulders to stop that. Ngethuma nginaka nje bahlonishwa iningi lethu ingane zethu azikulezi ikole sithi ngehluphekile eyila emkhanya eyibalwa la kwelakithi emkhanya okuthiwa bengakutholi nje internet ngenxa yokuhlupheka. Ingane zethu azikho lapho kiningi lazo likuzo zona lezi ikole ezidla izambane likapondo. I think kumsebenzi wethu ukuthi sibone ukuthi ikole senza kanjani thilingane nokuthi sikunaka ukuthi izakhiwo zazo nothisha baphatheke kanjani. We also noted that some of the portion of funds were allocated to upgrade.
Your time is up, Honorable Manqele.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Manqele. Kika, don't shoot yourself in the foot because we are timing you correctly. You're having 3 minutes, which is starting now.
Honorable members, the ANC-led government shouldn't have to resort to smoke and mirrors to bolster its scandalous image. Honorable Kaluza, insult all you want. The fact remains that there are still mud schools in our province. Officials have lied. The department did not tell us about the corrupt officials. The AG did. So don't come here and tell us that they did. Honorable members, we have a responsibility to ensure that we all contribute towards a capable state, that we do this honestly, and that we serve the people that elected us into office, because we are not only answerable to them. One day we will close our eyes and there will be ultimate accountability. The NDP, and I hope everybody remembers this document, tells us a developmental state needs to be capable, but a capable state does not materialize by decree, nor can it be legislated or waved into existence by declaration. It has to be built brick by brick, institution by institution, and sustained and rejuvenated over time. The reality is that we are now going in the opposite direction, and the signs are all there for everyone to see. Honorable members, a former president of India is on record to have said, if a country is to be corruption-free and become a nation of beautiful minds, I strongly feel that there are three key societal members who can make this difference. They are the father, the mother, and the teacher. So I call upon everyone, all members, everyone listening, to say no to corruption and get rid of it through the ballot box. This is the responsibility of citizens, because citizens should not keep their mouth closed. And honorable members, corruption cannot be our heritage. Just a few facts before we continue, since I have some time. There are a shortage of 5.4 million textbooks in this province, and we are told that there is no money to replace these textbooks. Well, if there was less corruption, less stealing, I tell you, there would be enough money for this. So we need to find those who are responsible for this and deal with them. Then an official came to the committee and told us a few out of the 4,500 tanks that were supposed to be delivered not long ago, when I stood at this podium, they told us that 3,480 tanks have been delivered. We not only heard it in the portfolio committee, but we heard it from the Honorable Mshengo, and we heard it here again, that only 1,125 tanks were delivered to school. And when I asked in the committee why this was so, she gave such an excuse that is shocking. She said that the number was 4,500, but because there was an issue of billing with municipalities, that the number has now reduced from 4,500, which was the need, to 1,125. Have you ever heard such nonsense in your life? This is absolutely ridiculous. Things like this cannot be acceptable and tolerated.
Your time is up,
Thank you.
Honorable Kika. Thank you. We are going to have from IFP, Honorable M. Kaula. The time starts now.
Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, on behalf of the President of the IFP, Honorable V.F. Hlabisa, and the President Emeritus, Honorable Prince Buthelezi, and the entire IFP family, I want to kickstart by expressing the IFP's sincere gratitude to all educators of our province and the entire education sector for bearing the brunt and exposing themselves into the dangers of contracting coronavirus in their service to the nation. Our educators are indeed one of the crucial frontline staff who need to be commended for their bravery. The IFP also expresses gratitude to all community organizations, NGOs and NPOs, teacher unions, parents associations, and all other people of goodwill, public and private companies that assisted in ensuring that the wheels of our education system continue to operate in the midst of COVID-19. Honorable Speaker, this Honorable House has to approve these budget adjustments, whilst the money we are talking about, a large portion of it is already in the pockets of criminals and thieves. The GDP of our country has contracted by 51% in the second quarter of 2020 due to COVID-19. But even under these circumstances, the country has to contend with opportunists who have no regard at all for country, justice, the rule of law, and good governance, but are only concerned with positioning themselves for more riches, using the misery of COVID-19 as their advantage. This is very inhuman, insensitive, and brought against the spirit of Ubuntu. Under these circumstances, this ANC government has failed the people of our province. It is this government which has sold out the plight of the citizens of our province to enrich the opportunists who were posing and are still posing as service providers. This government has failed to perform the most important task of a government in office, the protection of the public purse. The budget allocation which is being appropriated today is 57.7 billion. The IFP supports this allocation with a strong warning to MEC Mshengu. Please take good care of the finances of our people in education. This is not lucky pocket gifts to be handed over to friends and allies. It is meager financial hardships of our people meant to improve the lives and conditions of our nation through education. Already, the AG has reported enormous challenges and irregularities relating to the spending of some of this money by education authorities in the province. The finding revealed that, amongst other things, the department has failed to comply with disaster period guideline to procurement in a number of ways. When this looting and free-for-all tendency in the COVID-19 funds escalated, the IFP caucus conducted its own investigation into these irregularities, and this is what transpired. The IFP caucus conducted an investigation on a company called Logan Medical and Surgical Pty Ltd. The company received more than 122 million in tenders from education. We asked for quotations on a few items. Logan gave us a quotation of 32 rand per 500 milliliter sanitizer, which education bought at 69 rand each, and paid 16 million for 244,000 containers. The department could have spent only 7 million and saved 9 million if they bought at normal price. Logan gave us a quotation of 260 for 60 rand for 5-liter container of sanitizer, which the department bought at 726 rand per container and paid 88 million for 122,000 containers. The department could have saved if they had bought at normal price. Honorable MEC, obviously prices were inflated. Obviously, your department never bothered to use the muscle buying power which they have. Another province in the country with very limited numbers of schools and compared to the KZN bought at 900 rand the 25-liter sanitizers, which KZN bought at 4,000 rand. We still want to know about the Jojo tanks that the department bought at 28,000 rand. Whilst blacks today around the world are chanting the popular phrase, "We can't breathe because of racism," in KwaZulu-Natal we are chanting, "We can't breathe because of corruption. Corruption is choking us." I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable. For 10 minutes,
What was what dramatic?
will be the speaker, the ANC, Honorable LXH Hlongwa Madlala, will be speaking on behalf of the ANC for 10 minutes. We are observing health protocols. Honorable Hlongwa,
Thank
your
you,
time starts now.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Speaker and members of the House, Premier and the Executive, compatriots and comrades who are following us on social media, good afternoon, good morning rather. Let me start off by acknowledging candid contributions by all members of the legislature who have participated before me in this debate. Honorable Mchali's inputs were carefully thought, whereas Honorable Kika's inputs were off tangent, irrational, and more about personal branding instead of building a South Africa that will bequeath to our upcoming generations. Honorable Mlotshwa's water remarks have become a rhetoric which does not necessarily help us find long-lasting solutions to the very imminent issue, but I do agree with Honorable Mlotshwa on the issues of rainwater, short the work done, as well as Honorable Aluza. The Portfolio Committee, Honorable Speaker, awaits the progress report in this regard. Honorable Mthethwa's contributions were very progressive until she spoke about izinja. So contribution yakhe igcine ikhonkotha izinja. Honorable Kaula's inputs on the role to defend and manage public purse with prudence is welcome. Thank you very much for that, Kapisa. We are encouraged by your words, Honorable MEC Mshengu, of saying we must put our best foot forward. And I want to assure you that the ANC component in this legislature promises you that we'll go to our extremes in doing that. Having said that, Honorable Speaker, let me hasten to say the Department of Education presented its adjustment to the EPC on the 8th of September 2020, and we're very happy to note that the department's budget was not cut. It is public knowledge that the Department of Education needed 2.8 billion to fund its COVID-19 response. The Education Department identified 1.2 billion through internal reprioritization, and in terms of the provincial COVID-19 response is allocated an additional billion. That additional billion rand, Honorable Speaker, was allocated in programs 1, 2, and 7 to address the budgetary constraints in those areas. The cuts amounting to 517.4 million against the 3 grants in education, in HIV and AIDS grant, education infrastructure grant, and MSNT were cut respectively. It must, however, be checked that there has always been a historic underexpending of these grants, and now it seems that chickens have come home to roost, as Honorable Maggie Govender asserted yesterday. It is worth noting that there were a number of virements made within programs, and all these virements were in line with the PFMA. The department's expenditure on PPEs came under scrutiny during our portfolio committee meetings, ranging from the quality of PPEs procured at the first phase, the procurement of thermometers, and up until the provision of water to schools in a sustained manner. The department had tried everything within its power to address risk areas in relation to procurement of PPE. The AG's report, however, finds non-compliance with general SCM legislation. Instances of irregular expenditure to the tune of 728,000 were found, such as only 2 price quotations having been obtained, service providers not being registered on the CSD, and service providers not being tax compliant. In addition to that, they also found cover quoting on a contract worth 491,625 and the possible irregular awarding of a contract worth 550,119, where BE certificate could not be produced. The AG also found there was non-compliance with NT National Treasury Instruction Note or Note 8 of 2020-21 on emergency procurement, in that some PPE items were procured at prices higher than those recommended, and possible irregular expenditure of 316,990 was incurred. The AG further identified risk and internal control weaknesses in the ordering, delivery, invoicing, and payment processes of PPE PPE items, in that the quantities ordered, invoiced, and paid for by the DOE did not match the quantities delivered, which will likely result in a loss of about 61,813. The DOE report makes no mention of this or any other irregularities. On the contrary, the impression is created that all is well with its COVID-19 procurement. We know that this is not much in the face of many, but it has a potential, Honorable MEC, to form an opinion against the department which we oversight. And the Portfolio Committee would like to know why these errors were omitted and not honestly reported upon. A recent report by the AG unveiled that some officials in the department appointed service providers not in the Treasury database, and that there was favoritism in appointing some of the service providers. The ANC believes that the MEC should guide the department to strengthen supervision and ensuring that there is compliance in all levels of procurement. There is a great need to strengthen mitigation plans to control abuse of procurement system now and in the future. We are closely following the matter of suspension of officials fingered in the malfeasance in relation to PPE procurement. Our request, Honorable MEC, is that we fast-track the investigation processes, as prolonging such ventures into a notion of justice delayed is justice denied. We'll await the first preliminary report in our October Portfolio Committee. Our people are no longer patient with us, and so we must act against corruption. There is absolutely no doubt in our mind that the Auditor General was correct to suggest that there is a need to heighten the level of oversight, and as such, the COVID-19 programs rolled out have brought us into a newer level of oversight as legislators. Welcome the call on oversight structures to use the report as tabled on the 2nd of September 2020 to direct our oversight actions. The ANC can no longer be vague about the problem of corruption, especially after the letter written by its own president, His Excellency President Ramaphosa, to the members of the ANC. There's come a time in history that demands that we now own up and say, probably some of us in the state have enabled corruption and thus left millions of South Africans destitute and ashamed. The baseline report has revealed that weaknesses in the control tools of the departments, including the Department of Education in KwaZulu-Natal, are a threat to good governance. The department is called to heighten its good governance protocols as we deal with the pandemic today and in the future. Steve Bantubika, whom we commemorate in this month of September, said people must be aware of their problems in a realistic way. They must be able to analyze their problems and to work out a common solutions. In other words, a community is easily divided when perception of the same thing is different. Therefore, Madam Speaker, ours as the ANC is to acknowledge that there are shortcomings in good governance, and our response can no longer be slow, and because we may head towards a failed state. We will risk a divided South Africa if we are not to work out our challenges towards common solutions, as Steve Biko suggests. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker and members of the House, there are a few areas that we want the MEC to reflect on as we work together with him to higher heights, whether the set of the senior managers in his department are value-adding to the capable ethical stage, which he is a proponent of. We also want the MEC to ponder on the thought of the radically leading the consequence management implementation to realize good governance and a capable state. We have wavered the storm, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members. We have a lot of lessons from this pandemic today and for the future. Honorable Speaker, the ANC supported the budget adjustments and commits to hold the Department of Education accountable at all levels to making it a shining example of good governance, because we believe that under the leadership of Honorable Mshemu, this department can actually do more and push South Africa forward. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable Dongwa Madlala.
Thank you.
Ngizothatha-ke leli thuba ngibuye ngibuyise umhlonishwa wethu umphathiswa uKI Mshengu to give response on education budget debate. Your time starts now, Honorable MEC. I think you are ready.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I will just pick up on a few issues as raised. Some of them really we will request the honorable members. Okay, let me first indicate and accept the debate that has taken place, and the that has been leveled against us, and indicate, Madam Chair, that what allergic to constructive criticism. Equally, we will have to respond where we think that we are unfairly and unjustifiably criticized. So to all the members, we really welcome the debate, but let me clarify a few things. There is an issue around some schools which are said not to have PPEs. I think it was the Honorable Rajbansi who says there are many schools now. Many schools is what out of 6,148 schools that we have. I think we'll have to be assisted, because if there is a school that has a problem of PPEs, a mask in particular, we'll request that we be given such information so that we intervene. because we have been getting these complaints that there are schools that don't have masks and all of those things. And upon our follow-up, you find that indeed schools have been provided for with masks. And we really want to to request members that they be pointed and specific, so that their contribution really does not get watered down by what we may characterize as political expedience. Because a statement that says many schools, how many is many? So that we are able really to be focused in our interventions. But as we said, from where we are as a department, all schools have been provided armor masks for learners and educators, and we continue to deliver other essentials such as sanitizers in a staggered May, as we explained in our budget speech before. So we really want to plead with members who have such information to come forward with specific names of schools. And this equally applies, Babu Mlocho, to the assertion that there are kids or there are schools that have not received chemical specific names. And I commit myself that if there are such schools and you give us specific names, we can come back to the legislature and say, indeed, you gave us these names, we made follow up. If indeed your assertions are true, we'll concede to that. But the issue of general statements and without specifics, they really become political expediency statements if they are not coupled with specifics, and they render us helpless. Because if you say there are schools, where do I start? In 12 district of KZN, where do I start looking for them if the information that we have says we have provided all the schools with masks, all the schools with chemical toilets and all of those things? But we also do leave room that probably there may be other schools that have challenges, and we think the only thing that will help us is to get the pointed information. Chair, on the issue of the water tanks and rainwater, I think Honorable Kika is really demonstrating what the problem that the president spoke about. But he said, you see, the problem in South Africa, which is basically part of the studies that have been conducted, is that we have kids at the age of 10 who can not read with understanding. And I've always argued that that problem goes beyond the kids of 10 years old. It's a societal problem. And I think Kika is a demonstration of that. We said 1,125 tanks were provided by rainwater. And Department of Education in the province provided 3,400 water tanks. And that's a fact. So there is no contradiction that he's alleging. I think it's this problem, Madam Chair, of reading without understanding, which we must deal with it as a societal matter. It's a good start with the kids that we are responsible for, but we also want to challenge the legislature to assist us in this regard. Chair, the health class not being paid on time would ensure that the should work with rainwater. We've taken up the matter with the National Department of Education because it's also our concern that there was money that was given to rainwater, but the shoddy work that they have done so far as the installation of water tanks really concerns all of us, and we'll continue to update even the portfolio committee in that regard. The issue of smart schools, Honorable Kika, again, this is the legacy of the people we are serving. So it will be quite unfair, obviously, to blame it to us, but we have done work. Out of 9 improper structures in the province, 3 are on construction already, 2 are on tender stage, and 4 are on design. We are determined by next financial year we complete eradicating your legacy, because we are dealing with your legacy. It is the people that we are serving who made sure that in these areas that we are complaining about today, the standard of the black child was underdeveloped. So we'll not tire to eradicate your legacy in the face of all the South Africans, as it were. On the issue of...
Honorable MSA, there's an order. Honorable Kiga.
Arise on Rule 52. The MEC is making reference to my legacy. I don't know what he's referring to, my legacy, because I'm not responsible for eradicating those. I'm not responsible, or was not responsible for the mud schools. He had 26 years to fix them. So that is the point of order.
You said you're raising an order.
Rule 52A.
52A, it's a point of order.
I've stated my point of order, Madam Chair.
That you are not responsible. Honorable MSc, you may proceed.
No. Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson.
Madam Chair, there is no point of order on a point of order,
There is
so
no point
I don't know
of
who
order.
else is raising.
It's debating now. Honorable Zuma.
Honorable Zuma.
So it's, I think it is out of order because it's debating instead of.
That's why I said he must proceed. Honorable MSc, proceed.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Madam Chair. Chair, on the issue of teachers with comorbidities, yes, indeed, it has been the struggle. We have provided what we could provide within the available budgets. We have even made other arrangements, such as teachers coming to teach for that particular period and going back. But I also want to indicate, Chair, that the collective agreement is valid up and was valid up to the second level in terms of the risk-adjusted strategy. So as we enter into level 1, we're expecting that the teachers will be coming back, and they will then have the full complement of teachers in the sector. The issue of the age, and I think, let me just say this. People who are corrupt, they don't report that I'm corrupt. And the people who have been found to have transgressed some regulations in the department, it will not have been my expectation that they will come knocking in my door and say, MEC, I'm corrupt. I've committed this wrong. It will not. So it is institutions that support democracy that help us to unearth such tendencies. And the AG is one of them. The SIU is one of them. And all other investigative or law enforcement agencies. And what the AG did, when they found this transgression, they reported to us and we acted immediately. We did not want to put anything under the carpet to hide anything. We then acted immediately, which is, in our view, a proof that we cannot coexist with corruption. And this is the message that we are sending to all staff members. If you think that you will do something wrong, once we catch you, we are going to dispense justice the best way we know how. So this is what we're not hiding anything. That is why, Chair, I would not agree that the department has also made an impression that all is well. We have not done that. It is us who reported in the portfolio committee before even the AG went to SCOPA and report on demand. When they brought the report to me, I said to the HOD, let's act on this report. We reported to the portfolio committee, as was confirmed even by Honorable Kaluza, to say it is the department that reported. So it's not true that the department would have, postured that everything is well. That's why even when I started, I said we are guided by Amilcar Cabral, that we will mask no difficulties, we'll hide nothing from the masses, because we want to run a transparent government. So if there's been such an expectation or an interpretation, it has really been an unfortunate interpretation, and we want to commit to the legislature, to all members, that the Department of Education will not coexist with corruption, will not posture or mask any difficulties. Where there are challenges, we'll put them, say that we will act and act without fear. That is why even the Premier led us in putting to the public the whole procurement processes, people who have benefited and all of those things. And I know that some people had expected that they will find the names of there and all.
Honorable MSc.
It's nothing that we're hiding, and we thank you, Madam Chair and Madam Speaker, for the opportunity granted.
Thank you so much, Honorable MEC. We feel your problem of having these glitches by the network, but we did pause when we encountered such. Thank you so much, Education, for the very moving debate that you had. Now we are going to move and deal with the Social Development Special Adjustment Budget. I will just have to state that I will do the first part, which is the part that deals with the reports. That will be the report by the MEC and the Honorable Chair of the portfolio. Then thereafter, I'll hand over to my Honorable Speaker, whom I am co-presiding over this session. I am calling upon to the four Honorable MEC, Honorable NM Khoza, who is going to give us a 30-minute report for social development. I believe and trust that the MEC is ready now. Honorable MEC.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Greetings to the Deputy Speaker and the Speaker of the Legislature, Honorable Boyce. Greetings to the Honorable Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Honorable Sihle Zikalala, and greetings to the Provincial Legislature and all the Honorable members, the Chairperson for Social Development as well, and the Portfolio Committee, and all distinguished guests. Honorable Chair, today I rise to table the Special Adjusted Budget for Social Development, which is Vote 13. It is just more than 3 months down the line when I stood before the House to present the budget speech to meet the needs of the communities that we serve. The stark reminder by the Honorable Premier, Mr. Sihle Zikalala, who during the State of the Province address earlier in this year, reminded us that, and I quote, social development is a critical pillar in the building of a united, non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous society. Close quotes. Still remains very relevant even today. Honorable Chair, the horrendous increase of the gender-based, Honorable Chair, just allow me to express my gratitude first to all of our frontline workers and partners in the NPO sector who have been at the forefront in the fight against coronavirus. This is the true spirit of Tumamina. We appreciate their commitment and sacrifice. Due to this pandemic, as the department, we have lost, among others, senior managers. Mrs. Gabsile Kakane, Acting Chief Director, Research and Development, and Mr. Derek Msimang, Acting Chief Director for the Midlands Cluster. These are our foot soldiers who died with their boots on. From March 2020, the department suspended some of the operations to comply with the applicable alert level of the nationwide lockdown regulations. Since the introduction of the alert level 2 of the nationwide lockdown on the 18th August 2020, the department is increasingly reopening services that were suspended, of course, in line with the applicable regulations. The outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic and the resultant nationwide lockdown has had a significant impact on the finances of the government. This happens against the backdrop of the economic decline which the country is experiencing. The budget cuts and reductions in our budget amount to 64 million rands of our equitable share. Further cuts in our budget are as a result of internal reprioritization to fund social relief of distress and the homeless people. Honorable Chair and honorable members, the horrendous increase of the gender-based violence and femicide incidents during the national lockdown are of great concern to us. The incidents of abuse, rape, and murder of women, children, and older persons indicate that as society we are losing, as the society, we are losing our hold on what exactly the moral fiber. The incidents in Umzumbe, for an example, highlight the need to think differently to confront this sketch head-on. As the department, we are not immune in the incidents of gender-based violence. In the past weeks, we have also lost some of our own our foot soldiers, tasked with the responsibility to provide support to the victims of this scourge. We would like to pay our respect to the fallen social workers by the names of Ms. Hlengiwe Makhathini, who was attacked and shot to death with a nail of bullets in her room and at Madlazini, and Ms. Hloniphile Hadebe, who was stabbed to death at her home in Molweni by a man. As a response, the department provides social services such as psychosocial support to victims and families, as well as assistance to get health care and legal services, among others. Victims continue to be taken into our shelters, whose exact location would never be revealed. As part of our ongoing safety, all district champions launched the campaign of the Provincial Integrated Plan of Action in November 2019 to fight the scourge of women and children abuse in their respective districts. This is a call for us as government and all other stakeholders to double our efforts to deal with the scourge, which has become a nightmare in our communities. As this province, we employed our social workers, Honorable Chair, 183, as we were confronted by the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide. This team is already in our communities having a dedicated focus on prevention, victim empowerment, and trauma management. Furthermore, we have decided to employ more additional social workers, 30 of them, and these are allocated to hotspot areas. Madam Speaker, recently we launched the Boys Assembly, an initiative to encourage parents to raise the girl child and the boy child as equals. It is also ensuring that boys find time to talk with a neutral person about all issues affecting them. As much as we know that social workers frequently visit our schools to help learners with psychosocial support and behavioral change programs, we want to further strengthen our partnership with the Department of Education to deal with bullying in schools. It is our major concern. As we all know, bullying is a different form of violence. Therefore, we want children to be alert at young age about dangers. As the department, our commitment is to ensure that we protect our children from incidents similar to the one that we have seen in Zululand, where 2 learners were attacking another one. Both departments, education and social development, we are going to work hand in glove in eradicating this scourge. The department is developing a clear program to deal with discrimination and denunciation of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender communities. They should enjoy equal rights as enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Under Social Welfare Services, Program 2, let me remind honorable members that transformed developmental social welfare is one of the intended government outcomes outlined in the medium-term strategic framework of 2019 to 2024. As I indicated earlier on, the department experienced budget cuts, budget reductions, and reprioritization to fund COVID-19 priorities. As a result of internal budget reductions and reprioritization, the 2020 to 2021 budget allocation for social welfare services, or Program 2, has been increased 145 million rands, which makes it go from 823 million rands to 968 million rands. The adjusted budget for Program 2. Under services to older persons, which is allocated 171,864 million rands, the budget allocation for services to older persons has been reduced by 17 million rands, which resulted to 189 million rands to 171 million rands. The budget cut is in relation to savings realized against transfers and subsidies to non-profit institutions, whereby transfers were not made to institutions which were not operational as a result of the nationwide lockdown. Only minimal transfers to cover the administrative costs of institutions were made, as there was no attendance by beneficiaries. As mandated by the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa and the Older Persons Act 13 of 2006, the department will continue to provide care and support services to older persons. Under the services to persons with disabilities, the budget allocation for services to persons with disability has been reduced as well by 3 million rands. From 157 then to 153. This reduction is as a result of savings caused by minimal transfers to NPOs to cover the administrative cost, as there was no attendance of beneficiaries during the nationwide lockdown. The department will continue to implement the white paper on the rights of persons with disabilities 2015. Under HIV and AIDS program, the budget allocation for the HIV and AIDS sub-program has been reduced by 11 million from 232.8 million to 221.8 million. The reduction is as a result of the reasons stated above. Social behavioral change programs that were suspended due to lockdown regulations will be resumed, thus expanding the scope beyond schools to communities. Under the leadership of the Honorable Premier, Mr. Sihle Zikalala, we launched the Government to Government in July 2020. This initiative is a partnership between South African government and United States Agency for International Development. It is meant to support the implementation of YOLO, which means you only live once, and TOMI programs, which are behavioral change programs, which aim to upscale the implementation of primary prevention of sexual violence and HIV and AIDS among 10 to 14 years and 15 to 25 years old. Under social relief of distress, the 2020 to 2021 budget allocation for the SRD sub-program was increased by 197 million rands from 17.7 million. As of now, it is to 214 million rands as a result of internal budget reprioritization and repurposing. Before the outbreak of COVID-19 and the lockdown, the sub-program had an allocation of 17.7 million. Because of the huge demands for SRD as a result of increased level of unemployment and poverty, we had to identify savings in our budget in order to respond to the needs and demands from our destitute communities. And this reprioritization and repurposing was made within our budget as the department. Honorable members will recall that as some of the social development services were limited due to the lockdown regulations, and the SRD became one of the department's main interventions to cushion the poor and the vulnerable against the severe impact of COVID-19 and lockdown. I must mention that the department has experienced some challenges with the provision of SRD. These include capacity of service providers in the form of non-profit organizations to deliver to eligible beneficiaries. Some of these challenges have been raised by the public, members of the DSD Portfolio Committee. However, I want to give assurance that all these challenges are being addressed and the distribution of SRD will improve in the next few weeks and beyond. The new measures to improve our capacity to deliver SRD include the hybrid model, which means that we will distribute food parcels and food vouchers. We will also strengthen our nerve center. In fact, we have started to strengthen our nerve center to coordinate the overall distribution. Since the nationwide lockdown was implemented, we have been working with reduced staff complement in order to observe physical distancing. We have since recalled them. Within the COVID-19 regulations, all our staff will come back to speed up the progress of SRD as we are mandated as this department. Under Children and Families, Program 3, the budget of 2020 to 2021 budget allocation for this one has been reduced with 111.7 million. Thus, it gives it remains 1.7 million to 1.9. Pardon me. It's 1.7 billion to 1.6.9 billion. The main reason for the decrease is to find the departments responsive to the COVID-19 pandemic, such as the provision of the SRD to destitute communities and shelter to the homeless. The budget for Program 3, sub-program, has been readjusted as follows. Under Care and Support Services, the budget for this program has been reduced by 1.5 million. From 1.056 million, it goes to 14.1 million to 13.1. The reduction is mentioned from savings to fund the COVID-19 reason. We remain persuaded that a family is a building block of a society, and that functional families contribute to societal stability. To this end, the department will increasingly resume care and support services to families to promote social cohesion and social capital. Under Child Care and Protection program, the care and support services to families budget has been reduced by 64.2 million, giving us 486.8 million to 422.6 million. The Department of Official launched and commemorated the 2020 Child Protection Week under the theme, Let Us All Protect Children During COVID-19 and Beyond. During the lockdown, we continued to collaborate with relevant NPOs in managing cases of child abuse, neglect, and exploitation, and monitoring the movement of children in line with lockdown regulation. We will continue with such initiatives. Under sub-program Early Childhood Development and Partial Care, the budget for ECD and partial care sub-program has been decreased by 28.7 million rands, from 708 to 680 million rands. The department is currently collaborating with all relevant stakeholders to prepare for the reopening of ECD centers, which were closed during the lockdown levels 5, 4, and 3. Through the ECD conditional grants, 295 additional ECD centers will be funded, while 12,480 children will be subsidized. A total of 605 unregistered ECD centers will be supported through the procurement of personal protective equipment from the ECD infrastructure grant component, which has since been repurposed, as there will be no maintenance of ECD centers as the result of the pandemic during this financial year. Honorable Chair, furthermore, in July, we launched Ivangasali ECD campaign in partnership with the Nelson Mandela Foundation to ensure that unregistered ECD centers within the province of KwaZulu-Natal are supported to comply with the norms and standards for registration as partial care facilities. As a result, a total of 3,105 unregistered ECDs have come out for assistance to get registered through this campaign. Under the alternative care child and youth care centers, the budget for the child and youth care centers sub-program has been reduced as well by 6.6 million rands. It moves from 241 million to 234.3 million rands. The CYCCs were fully operational during the different alert levels of the national worldwide level. Under community-based care and support services for children, the budget for the community-based care and support services for children sub-program has been reduced by 6.6 million rands. It goes from 124 million to 117 million rands. Most of the community-based care and support services for children were suspended during the alert level 5 and 4 and 3 of the lockdown. In level 2 of the lockdown, the department resumed these services in a phased approach. We are facilitating the finalization of the mentorship program for learners who have completed their child and youth care learnership. And under the program 4, restorative services, honorable members, restorative services will continue to play a key role towards the achievement of national priority, priority 6, social cohesion and safe communities. Then the budget allocated is 405. It moves. The budget cut is 26.9 million. It goes to 405 to 374. The main reason for the decrease is to fund the department's response to COVID-19 pandemic, as said. With a total of under social distress of destitute communities, a total 19 million has been moved from program 4 to program 2. The remaining 3.5 million was cut across all sub-programs in respect of transfers. A further reduction of 7.5 was cut across all restorative services sub-program. The department remains committed to the plight of homeless people in the province. In response to this, the department is currently coordinating the developmental of the intersectoral to address the growing number of homeless people. Our focus is on rehabilitation, reintegration, and skills development services to improve the social well-being of homeless people and their ability to be resilient and independent. To this end, we have been able to reunify 488 young people who were living in the streets with their families. 39 of them, of the young people, have been committed to treatment care centers for drug abuse, and 84 will be enrolled in the youth development academies. We also appreciate the role played by local government, which is highlighted by the Newcastle municipality employing some of the homeless people from our shelters. Equally, the role that has been played by eThekwini municipality and general members of the public to help the UNISA homeless student is noted. The budget allocations for program, the following program is crime prevention and support, which is budgeted 136.2 million rands, and the budget is cut by 12.9 million rands. Under the victim empowerment program, which is budgeted 84 million rands, the budget has been reduced by 4.6 million rands. Honorable members, recent reports suggest that gender-based violence has increased since the beginning of the nationwide lockdown. The murder of a number of women in Mtswalume area, or the area of Ugu district, as well as in Herikwala, Mgumbundlevo, and Utugela district, has left the province reeling. The department has been working with other government departments to mobilize sectors of the society in the fight of the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide. Since August 2020, we have established a strong partnership with the leadership of Santako in the province with the launch of educational message in Umzumbe, in Nanda, Pinetown, Chatsworth, and the eThekwini CBD. Let us appreciate the work done in in partnership with whilst we are led by the Honorable Premier in partnership with other departments, in ensuring that taxi owners and drivers, rank marshals, commuters play a crucial role in the fight of gender-based violence. We had several dialogues in the area of Mthwalume and the aim of amplifying our strong message against the abuse of women. Under substance abuse prevention and rehabilitation, which is allocated 87.9 million, the budget of this program has been decreased by 5 million as well. Under the program 5, development and research, the department and research program remains a critical vehicle for assisting the department to step up the pace of the paradigm shift from social welfare to social development. To this end, the department will strengthen this program to create opportunities for more people to participate actively in community development issues that affect the lives of the people. With reductions in all our programs caused by the pressures to fund COVID-19 pandemic, it becomes difficult and very difficult to implement our plans as indicated. The 2021 budget allocated for the development and research program has been reduced to 23.5 million rands, which make it very hard to breathe. The budget under the community mobilization, which is allocated 2.3 million, the budget is thus far. Institutional capacity building and support, the budget is allocated, this sub-program is allocated 15.4 million. The budget has remained unchanged, fortunately. Under poverty alleviation, sustainable livelihood, this has been allocated 19.1 million that has been allocated for this sub-program and has remained unchanged, fortunately. One of the key interventions under this sub-program is the provision of nutritious food through community nutrition development centers. The budget allocated for community-based care, research and planning is 987,000. This will allow the department to continue with community-based care and research. Under youth development, the budget is allocated as a 42.9 million rands. It has been reduced, unfortunately, by 10.3 million rands. It is a blow below the belt. Under women and development, the budget has been reduced by 1.617 million and remains at 10.3 million rands. Under population policy promotion, which is allocated 4.710 million rand, and it is not changed. Ladies and gentlemen, a total allocation of 3.7 billion is requested by the KwaZulu-Natal Social Development for the 2021. The amount has been cut, as we have alluded to, and we have moved from 3.8, which was cited early this year, to 3.7 billion rands. Honorable members, the COVID-19 pandemic, while it is a health issue, it has also created many socio-economic challenges for many individuals and families whose breadwinners have lost jobs and livelihood. We will forever be grateful to the NGOs, civil society formations, private sector, and individuals across the racial divide who offered a helping hand to the government during these difficult times. We have to be alive for the humiliating cries and suffering from continuous people, individuals. As such, we have moved with speed from social welfare to social development. And therefore, we cannot allow the little resources to be gobbled and by corruption and financial mismanagement. We are looking forward towards the conclusion of the investigation on the irregularities. We commit ourselves to deal decisively with corruption, ensuring consequence management. Our department has embarked on the restructuring process, and we were quite aware that such a move that will have a different meaning to other people. However, it is the nature of human beings to resist change and opting for measures to protect the wrongs. There are a few fallacies by alarmists and opposition parties who want to create panic because they have something to hide or they do not have a full understanding of issues. I can assure you that there is no state of disarray in the department, but we need people employed by the government to be committed, loyal, and dedicated servants of the people. People have entrusted the ANC to work towards moving them out of the joblessness, poverty, and inequality. Therefore, nothing should remove us from the commitment we made with the people. We are grateful to the Honorable Premier, Mr. Sihle Zikalala, and the entire Provincial Executive Council for ensuring that we perform this duty to the best of our ability. Also, I pay my sincere gratitude to
Honorable MEC, your time is up, man.
Can you make a minute, 2 minutes? 2 minutes.
No.
Also, I pay.
Taking from your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Also, I pay my sincere gratitude to members of the Social Development Portfolio Committee for keeping us on toes all the time. The head of the department, Mrs. Nelisiwe Vilakazi, came in just 3 months ago and has a responsibility to douse the fires as an accounting officer. We want services to reach our people, and we are lucky because she fully understands what needs to be done. We are grateful that the workforce of the department remains committed to the mandate to change the lives of the people. I would also like to thank all members of the public. Without your support and patience, we wouldn't not be able to deliver services. And we thank you, all members of the House, for your continuous support. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable MEC. Your 2 minutes will be taken from your time for responses. And it was not 2 minutes, it was 1 minute.
1 minute.
It was 3 minutes.
Now I am calling the chairperson of Social Development Portfolio Committee, that is Honorable G.N. Sartboy Ndombela. She's going to present the report on behalf of the portfolio for 10 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, honorable members of this House, I wish to present this report on behalf of the Portfolio Committee on Social Development. Honorable Speaker, on the 8th of September 2020, the Portfolio Committee for Social Development met with the department to discuss and review its revised annual performance plan, together with the revised budget for 2020-2021. The revised budget was in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Special adjustment budget. Honorable members of this August House, we are all aware that the COVID-19 special budget was tabled by the National Minister of Finance on June 24th. This special budget outlined the reprioritization undertaken by government in both the national and provincial spheres. In our own province, the MEC for Finance, Honorable Ravi Pillay, tabled the provincial special budget, which detailed the changes made to our various departments. In this regard, the Portfolio Committee met with the Department of Social Development to deliberate on its revised budget and annual performance plan. The HOD and management team led by the Honorable MEC made the relevant presentations to the Portfolio Committee. The Portfolio Committee was informed that the budget has been revised downward by 64 million. The committee understands that this reduction is in the budget was necessary as it allowed the country to allocate resources towards the COVID-19 response. The committee was informed that the cuts to the budget will be effected against compensation of employees in Program 1, Program 3, Program 4, and Program 5. The committee raised their concerns in respect of the cuts to the budget, as the Department of Social Development is one of the crucial departments preparing government's COVID-19 response. Upon listening to the briefing, the members of the Portfolio Committee were made to understand that the budget would be internally reprioritizing their budget in response to COVID-19 pandemic. The committee informed that all identified savings across the budget programs will be reprioritized. The reprioritized monies will go towards the provision of food parcels to destitute communities as well as shelters for the homeless. The committee was made to understand that approximately 145 million was reprioritized to Program 2, Social Welfare Services. The Social Welfare Services Program will spearhead the department's COVID-19 initiatives. Whilst the Portfolio Committee welcomes the reprioritization of the budget to social welfare services to ensure that members of the communities do not go hungry, the Portfolio Committee was concerned with the slow progress of the department to distribute food parcels across districts. The department had made a proposal to distribute 88,454 food parcels for the month of July, August, and September, respectively, to Treasury. However, due to challenges, they were only able to distribute 1,025 food parcels in the month of July and August. The Portfolio Committee was not satisfied with the performance of the department. As a result, a special meeting with the cluster directors was held to pave a way forward. The Portfolio Committee is confident that going forward, the department will not have challenges with distribution of food parcels, as this is an essential service to our people. In my last budget report, I informed this House that the Portfolio Committee was pleased to hear that the department intended filling 205 critical vacant posts. The committee have been informed that the lockdown restrictions have hindered the department's progress. We, as the Portfolio Committee, would like to see advancement on the fulfillment of the posts, which move the department forward and allow it to better serve the people of the province. Honorable Speaker, the department in the revised APP had 51 performance indicators across the programs, and 42 of these indicators were decreased, and for the department to be able to do the necessary adjustment to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. Adoption of the special adjustment budget of 2020-2021, the Portfolio Committee supported the special budget on the 8th of September 2020 as follows. African National Congress supported. Inkatha Freedom Party supported. Economic Freedom Fighters supported. Democratic Party supported with reservations. Minority Party supported. In conclusion, Chairperson, Honorable Speaker, the Portfolio Committee supports the revised 2020-2021 budget of the Department of Social Development.
Point of order, Madam Chair. Rule 52A.
Honorable Kika.
Second time today we're hearing Democratic Party. The Democratic Party doesn't exist, Madam Chair. There is a Democratic Alliance, which is a political party registered in South Africa.
That's good correction.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Proceed, Honorable.
We have noted
Chair.
the correction, Honorable Member. Democratic Alliance.
What is that?
Yeah. Thank you to honorable members of the Portfolio Committee for your robust participation during the reviewed budget meeting. The contributions were much appreciated. As the chairperson of the committee, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the MEC Honorable N.M. Khoza, the HOD Mrs. Vilagazi, and the departmental officials, as well as the provincial treasury for the support given. I would like also to thank the legislature staff for their support. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson of the Social Development Portfolio Committee. We now call upon the next member on the debate for 9 minutes, Honorable T.S. Mchali of the ANC.
Honorable Speaker, Ndombeko Boys, the MEC of DSD, Honorable Khoza, the Portfolio Chairperson, Honorable Swat Point Ntombela, honorable members, please receive my greetings. I want to start by saying that I'm a member of the ANC, deployed by the ANC as the MPL to advance the NDR. In our pursuit for a better, we are advancing an NDR in our pursuit for a better life for our people. I want to quote the ANC strategy. I want to quote the ANC strategy and tactics to display this, and I quote, "In broader terms, the NDR seeks to ensure that every South African, especially the poor, experiences an improved quality of life. It seeks to build a developmental state shaped by the history and socio-economic dynamics of South African society." It goes on further. It says, which include the system which places the needs of our poor and social issues such as healthcare, education, and a social safety net at the top of the national agenda. Honorable Speaker, this is what, amongst other things, that the NDR we are pursuing seeks to address. I am starting with this because the DSD is amongst the departments that service our people, especially those that are our most vulnerable within our society, especially the poor, to ensure that they experience an improving quality of life that the NDR is talking about. Honorable Speaker, debating this adjustment budget today, we are debating this budget adjustment today because in our country, we had to deal with COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, the ANC-led government, as a caring organization of the people, even during these difficult times, it tried to create a social safety net for our people. Honorable Speaker, with all these efforts during these difficult times, we've discovered that there are those that have been masquerading as officials while they are criminals hiding within our government. These thugs have used this pandemic as a process for them to loot the resources that is meant for our people to benefit themselves. They started by procuring blankets without any need analysis, which was justifying the need to consider whether there was a necessary need for these blankets. They had forgotten about our vulnerable people who were going to sleep without food, but they decided that they must procure, but in a process, loot the state monies. But we must commend our premier by moving swiftly in dealing with this shameful act by conducting an investigation in a very short space of time. And the findings were made public. This was done by the premier deployed by the ANC under the ANC-led government. Dunankulu, you had set a tone in this province, Honorable Khuzeni, that there is no space for corruption in KwaZulu-Natal and there's no space for corruption in the ANC-led government. But what the department has done after the findings, the department opened 2 cases within the state. The law enforcement agencies, which is Hawks and the SIU, are working tirelessly on the 2 criminal cases, which were open. These criminal cases will deal with the officials as well as the business companies that were involved during this corruption. On the 2nd of September, the department had successfully engaged with the state attorney and the employer representative. As well as we can confirm here today to our people, the charges are at an advanced stage. The hearing for the misconduct cases will resume in the last week of September. But what we want to call on the DSD, HOD, any employees that decide to resign while they are undergoing this hearing, we call upon you to instruct the SIU to attach their pension fund. Not only must we arrest criminals, but we must also recover the state monies that have been stolen by these criminals. We must prevent and punish what is morally wrong and to encourage and reward all that is morally right. Honorable Speaker, we have heard of how a 25 million has been paid as part of the SRD for food parcel, which has not been distributed for the month of July, August. And 3 service providers were appointed. What was shocking, Honorable Speaker, 3 service providers were appointed without any service level agreement which dictates how the work should be done. This is shocking and unheard of. We call on the department to decisively deal with this issue, stop any process that seeks to be leading to criminal element and corruption. But on top of that, the very same service providers were bought cars as well as, amongst others, storage freezers. Where have you ever heard of a service provider being appointed but still being given materials to deliver? This is pure, clear criminality that we must decisively deal with. Therefore, we must ask a question, Honorable Speaker, which was once asked by former President Thabo Mbeki. President Thabo Mbeki asked, can you corrupt a corrupt person? Close quote. Clearly within this department, we have those that are already corrupt, so they don't even need to be corrupted. They've listened to the evil voice that former President Thabo Mbeki once spoke about, which whispers in their sleep, in their day-to-day work, get rich, get rich, get rich. And as a result, even during this pandemic, they have no shame that when our people go to sleep without food, there is still the money that is meant for the poorest of the poor within our society. There is still the money that is meant for those that go to sleep without food, who are most vulnerable within the society. Therefore, we must call them for who they are, thugs and criminals who are masquerading within our department, in collaboration with thugs who are masquerading as businessmen, because these businessmen, we call upon the department not only to refer to them through criminal processes, but the department must work together with the Department of Treasury to blacklist these companies. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, let me quote what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, and I quote, when we are forever fighting a degenerating sense of nobodiness, then you will understand why we find it difficult to wait, close quote. Our people can no longer wait. Our people can no longer continue to go to sleep without eating when thugs have utilized and looted money that was meant for them to go and get something to eat. When some of these people, they have a meal from breakfast, they got lunch, they get supper. When our people go for days without food, and when they need to get food, we find those who are already corrupt within our system, not providing this food to our people, but looting these resources. There is no space for corruption in an ANC-led government, and every thug, each by each, we will attend to him decisively, and no one will survive. If you are an official or a businessman and you are corrupt, we are coming for you, because in the ANC-led government, there is no space for corruption.
Mapelo MEC.
The next speaker for is Honorable P. Govender of the IFP. Honorable Govender.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity. Allow me to greet the Honorable MEC, the Leader of the Official Opposition, Honorable V.F. Slabisa, and all honorable members in the House today. Allow me also, Honorable Speaker, to convey condolences on behalf of the IFP to the families and friends of the social workers and officials in the department who lost their lives during the past few months. Honorable Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced people and institutions across the globe to reevaluate and restructure not only institutional protocols, but the very way that we lead our lives. Plans that we make and structures that we put in place need to be constantly assessed and evaluated in order to ensure that they serve the needs of our people wherever they may find themselves. In terms of Section 31 of the Public Finance Management Act 1 of 1999, which deals with provincial adjustment budgets, all departments had to cut budgets and reprioritize their spending in order to fund COVID-19 pressures. The Department of Social Development saw its budget reduced by 64.2 million rand, and this will indeed put great pressure on the department's activities. Over the past few years, we were concerned about the non-filling of posts. But with COVID-19 restrictions, interviews were not able to take place, and this will make matters even worse for the department. The shortage of staff will certainly have a negative impact on service delivery, especially since now more than ever, we need additional social workers in the field. Communities across our province are reeling under the lockdown restriction rules, and this negative impact will be with us for a long time to come. Of serious concern to the IFP is that this department has a history of underspending on its budget, as well as not being able to meet performance indicators that it sets for itself. Since performance indicators are not imposed upon the department, but are determined by the department itself, there can be no excuse, Honorable Chair, for underachievement. In the 2019-2020 financial year, the department underspent its budget by 33.37 million rand. The department underperformed on 37 out of 50 performance indicators. In Program 2, which is the core mandate of this department, it has underachieved in 8 performance indicators. In Program 3, it underachieved in 11 out of 15 performance indicators. And in Program 4, it underachieved in 6 out of 7 performance indicators. So now to use the excuse of COVID-19 lockdown for not meeting annual performance targets really does not hold water. In the first quarter, the department has only spent 18.7% of its budget against a 25% benchmark, and only 12.4% of its conditional grants. Honorable Speaker, now that we have an adjusted budget, the concern for the IFP is whether this budget will be used for the benefit of the citizens of our province, or whether much of it will find its way into the deep pockets of some greedy and unscrupulous officials and service providers. I am reminded of the 22 million rand that was paid to 4 service providers to provide blankets at the start of the lockdown. The IFP thanks Honorable Premier for instituting a swift investigation and the report that was then presented. This has led to the suspension of the acting HOD, the acting supply chain manager, the chief financial officer, cluster chief directors, and some SEM officials. This just goes to show how deep the corruption existed within this department. It is totally unacceptable that a needs analysis was not done, but orders were placed in March and money was paid to the 4 service providers. Some service providers were paid in full even before they delivered the blankets. It was reported that some service providers were working out of their own homes with no proper business premises, and the blankets supplied did not comply with specification in terms of size and quality. In this procurement alone, there was a loss of over 5 million rand. This is much needed funds that could have been used to assist the vulnerable across our province. The department reported that out of the 48,000 blankets, only 4,984 were distributed, and the balance of over 43,000 blankets were stored in unsecured premises across the province. There is still no clarity as to where those blankets are being stored, whether they are being distributed, and if so, how are recipients being identified. There were a number of questions around the compliance and capacity of the suppliers that were engaged to supply the blankets.
Thank you, Honorable Governor. Your
I
time
will
is
come
up.
back in the next slide.
Okay. Thank you. The next member for 8 minutes is Honorable Irabe of the DA.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable members, ladies and gentlemen watching the proceedings today. We all have to accept that we are living through very trying times, and business as usual is out the door. But even this should not be an excuse anymore. The Department of Social Development in KZN, it seems, has become a cash cow. Everything about the department's budget is an ongoing concern. If we consider the department's infamous lack of accountability, mismanagement of funds, and maladministration over the years, how can we be sure that funding that has been reallocated is indeed savings? And how can we be sure that these savings are going to be used to meet the needs of the most vulnerable of our society? A society who depends on services from this department, as well as local NPOs and NGOs that are funded through this department. To add to the DA's concerns, the department is facing a first charge because it has chosen to use conditional grant funding for expenditure outside of what this funding is allocated for. In this case, we would be interested to know from MEC Khoza how she plans to deal with this matter, as it will have a significant and damaging impact on the budget for the outer years. It's a very serious issue that requires urgent attention. Either the department doesn't know what they're doing, or they are trying to cover something else up. It seems my parliamentary question in this regard has been misplaced, or answer stalled, as I'm still waiting for a reply. Moving on to more recent shenanigans, just as early as Tuesday morning, an article in the Mercury made my blood boil. The department vehemently denied cutting funds from NPOs and NGOs. However, reports from this very department over the past few months have said exactly that funding to the NPOs and NGOs have been cut and reallocated due to COVID-19. Given my experience with this department, I'm inclined to distrust anything that comes out of it, and it really is through no fault of my own. It seems the left hand never knows what the right hand is doing. DSD over the years has admitted to failing in monitoring and evaluating the funded NPOs and NGOs in the province and commit every year to ensure that this matter in particular is dealt with speedily and with the urgency it deserves. So my question is, how can you be sure who these organizations are in the first place? And how can you be sure that when you did cut funding, that you were doing it on the basis of facts and figures, and not because you thumb-sucked figures as you saw fit? Without funding, these organizations cannot provide necessary services. And to make matters worse, you have failed to provide an increase for this financial year to assist with their ever-increasing needs. So expenses go up, as with everything else in the world today, but you expect them to still provide services without falling short on their mandates. How? It is blatantly clear that this department did not come out strongly enough to deal with this pandemic and the needs of the communities it is mandated to serve. In fact, the centralization of food distribution is a prime example of the significant failure on behalf of the department, and once again has opened up itself to alleged fraud and corruption. If the recent food distribution saga is not an exemplary failure, then I'm not sure what is. 25 million rand paid out to 3 service providers to provide amongst them 176,908 food parcels during the months of July and August, and yet only managing to provide 1,025. It doesn't even help asking this department to explain what is going on. They can't even answer questions posed to them by Scopa. It's impossible not to draw up our own assumptions and conclusions in this regard. MEC, your call for an investigation into the food parcel issue is a little too late, quite frankly. You're also aiming your investigation at the service providers, which I agree should be investigated. But MEC, it's your departmental officials that appointed these MPOs in the first place. In fact, your officials agreed to provide these MPOs with 25 million rand, trucks, forklifts, bakkies, and free fuel to get the job done, amongst other things I hear. Yet you say nothing about an investigation into your department for failure to actively monitor and evaluate these tenders over the past few months. You are most certainly not the person who should be calling for an investigation at all. If Treasury had not alerted us to this issue last week, no one would have been wiser, least of all you. You have failed as the political head of this department, MEC, and I stand by what I said before. Stand down. You are not fit, nor are you capable of running this department. This is the least you could do for the citizens of KZN. A department such as social development should be the epitome of transparency, functionality, and humility. Unfortunately, this is not the case in KZN. Given this department's dismal past and even more disgraceful present, one has to consider what needs to be done so that this department actually has a future. The Democratic Alliance has deep reservations about this adjustment budget at this time. We cannot trust that this budget and the amended annual performance plan has been thoroughly scrutinized, or whether it is just another wishy-washy slapdash attempt at pushing funding around to make it look like the department knows what it's doing, or that it cares for our communities as it should. I therefore address my closing to the Premier. I have little to no faith in the current MEC, sir, who is in constant denial and uses officials as scapegoats rather than take responsibility. The MEC should be removed from her position and this department must be placed under administration. A full investigation, not led by the MEC, nor you, Premier, but an independent body must be called for, so that those who are rotten and lining their pockets are dealt with decisively. I will leave you with this quote from George Washington Carver. I quote, 99% of all failures come from people who have a habit of making excuses. Let me repeat that. 99% of all failures come from people who have a habit of making excuses. I say enough is enough. No more excuses, Premier. If you're serious about fighting corruption and fraud, as you say, then you will heed my call today. I thank you.
The next speaker for 6 minutes is Honorable G.F. Mchali of the EFF. They are not in the House. Therefore, the next speaker will be Honorable V.R. Mlotshwa of the NFP for 2 minutes. Honorable Mlotshwa.
Honorable Speaker and honorable members, we support and accept the adjusted budget. However, we appeal to the department to increase and approve the allocation for gender-based violence. It is shocking to find that the costing of COVID-19 response towards the provision of food parcel is 239.1 million in KZN, while many of our starving black people in particular in the province file complaints of not receiving food. Sibe sizwa ke somlomo ukuthi kukhona kuhlele emahhovisi lapha siyocela ke uMEC ukuthi kungahlali emahhovisi kodwa akuphume kuye kubantu. We want on all COVID-19 reported corruption allegations and fraudulent activities. We request the MEC and the department to consider modifying and extend the COVID-19 relief of distress grant, increase funding towards NGOs and CBOs to help preserve our young people's future from substance abuse, such as drugs, etc. Increase funding towards restorative funding. Sinxusa-ke MEC nomnyango wakhe ukuba ungavumela amakhansela akhohlakela ntshontsho ukudla kwabantu lokho akuthatha akugcine ezindlini zawo abantu bebe bengadlile. Somlomo siyabonga.
Thank you. The next speaker is Honorable, for 7 minutes, is Honorable LD Ngubane of the ANC. Honorable Mbo.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier Khuzeni, Honorable members of the Executive Council and members of the House, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Ngibonga Speaker ukuthola leli thuba. Mhlambe to refer to Honorable Raba. Siyabonga ukuthi agenda yakhe is clear today. Ukuthi she has information anayo ngo-MEC. Bese kuthi athanda ukuzo expose ngendlela engeyona correct. Sibonge ukuthi ke Honorable Raba ama mistake enzekile kwi department. Siyawazi, that is why Honorable Mtshali ewa honorishile before we start. Honorable MEC izandla zakhe ziclean. Ayikho into ayaziyo. Izama official lawa akunika information singakayazi as a committee. We noted that. Siyabonga nje ukuthi usukwazile ukuthi usi-expose. I greet you all in the name of the Gigantic People's Movement. Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank the African National Congress for affording me an opportunity to participate in this important debate. Honorable Speaker, the African National Congress, as the leader of the government of KwaZulu-Natal, still bears an immense task of transforming into a society that reflects equality, prosperity, and unity in diversity, as well as social cohesion. This month of September, we commemorate the Heritage Day under the 2020 theme, I quote, Celebrating South Africa, Living Human Treasure. Speaker, the government has called on all South Africans to use the Heritage Month to foster great social cohesion, national building, and share a national identity, which will ensure that we are united as a nation and can overcome any challenges, even the pandemic we are confronted with today, and can all collective response as a society. Budget cuts and the impact. Honorable Speaker, COVID-19 has disturbed the work of the department highly, such as the profound spending cut for social administration. The spending cuts are very high and numerous objectives are not achieved. This department has an aggregate of 50 quarter performance points. A sum of 13 were completely accomplished, and there was a fractional or underachieve of 37 performance indicators, which result in the general performance of 26% of the quarter. Following this, the department's performance during the first quarter 2020-2021, as we all aware that it was seriously influenced by the lockdown at different levels, in particular level 5, 4, and 3. And even when the lockdown regulation were relaxed at level 4 and 3, the department could only matter roughly 30.5% of staff at work, inferable from physical distancing, discontinuous office termination because of the Spirodan-Class infection. It is worth noting that the most affected pointers were those who were there must be a physical contact with administration users. The many indicators that were less influenced were those performed on the office or that stay open according to the guidelines. Honorable Speaker, I will now touch a bit on the compensation of employees. 15.8 million was cut in respect of compensation of employees due to 31 posts that will only be filled later in the year as a result of recruitment delays caused by COVID-19. It was reported that the spending program in Program 1 to Program 5 is linked to COVID-19 pandemic and its regulation. Speaker, we want to say that we understand the reasoning provided as the COVID-19 was never planned, for it was beyond everyone's control. However, we want to call upon the department to fast-track the filling of the 31 posts, as we are now in level 1 next week, where President has relaxed restriction because the non-filling of those posts is a direct opposite to what the ANC agenda and the manifesto stated, which talks to the creation of employment. Transfer in NPOs. The department also underperformed on the transfer of NPOs. It was reported that Program 2 to Program 5 were below projections due to the several reasons linked to COVID-19 pandemic, and the nationwide lockdown as to transfer were made to institutions who were not operating. As I conclude, allow me to appreciate the work that has been done by the frontline department under a very difficult condition. Siyambonga kakhulu MEC wethu uMama Khoza, the staff sakhe ama-official asebenze kunzima, inhlamba beziza left, right and center, kodwa bakwazi ukuthi bakumele basize umphakathi wakithi ohlwempu. By working tireless in ensuring the lives of the working class in our province became an apex priority. Honorable Speaker, it will be very crucial that the 2020-21 adjustment budget and the amendment APP of the Department of Social Development, which uses the COVID-19 reaction, is upheld, despite the fact that the department needs to amplify what has been made accessible to it to tireless serve the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Ngiyabonga kakhulu Somlo.
Thank you. The next member for 2 minutes is Honorable Esther Kur Rajbanzi of the MF. Honorable Thakur Rajbanzi. Honorable Thakur Rajbanzi. IT, whilst you are still checking her connection, I will move to the Honorable M.E. Phakathi of the ATM for 2 minutes. He had tendered an apology. Therefore, we'll move to Honorable S.E. Manqele of ACDP for 2 minutes.
Madam Speaker, point of order.
Point of order, yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to bring to your attention, and I stand on Rule 28.5 and Rule 29.2, which deals with attendance at sittings and attendance at committee meetings. I would request through your office, Speaker, that you investigate the attendance of various of the minority parties that seem to not be attending sittings in terms of Rule 28 and Rule 29. And if I could ask you to investigate it and report back to the legislature. Thank you for your indulgence, Speaker.
Honorable Rogers, when you read Rule 28, it speaks of the whips in the case of a minority party not entitled to a whip. The whip appointed to those minority parties collectively must ensure that members of their respective parties or of the minority parties collectively, as the case may be, attend sittings, except under circumstances where the party is exercising its right to boycott proceedings. That is generally the thrust of 28. But when you go to 28.2, it's saying a member is entitled. As you go to what we had raised, you said you are going to 28.3. You said you're going to 28.2. Né? A member is entitled to a maximum of 3 consecutive sitting days leave without prior approval of the Speaker. But the member cannot exceed a maximum of 5 unapproved sitting days leave per session. If you look into the rule and interpret the rule, it speaks to a specific member. So when we are saying I must investigate generally, it looks more broadly as if it's a witch hunt when we're saying we're looking into the minority parties. I would suggest that and rule that if the honorable member has got specific members to be looked into, make a submission directly to the Speaker and we will deal with that.
Thank you, Speaker. I will do so.
Thank you, honorable member. Let us move Honorable S.E. Manqela of the ACDP, are you in the house?
Yes, Speaker, I am in the house.
Take your 2 minutes, sir.
Speaker, angibonge ngibingelele nakuPrima nakuzo zonke izikhulu zeParliament. Speaker, ngingaqala nje Nkosi yami ngokuzwela ubuhlungu ngikhalele uMamkhoza umhlonishwa ngalento eyenzeka kwi-department. Mhlonishwa wokwazi ukuthi inja ibambela umnikazi wayo. Ngiyazi enhlizweni yakho kubuhlungu kangakanani ukubona i-department ingenzi izinto ofisa ube ngabe ziyenzeka. Kodwa-ke qina, mina ngisho ukuthi abakwehlise noma ababeka abantu abakwehlise ngoba awunachashaza kule nto eselitholakele. Ngifisa nje ukuthi uqine ube strong, i-department niyibumbe kabusha. Kodwa bengangithokozisa Speaker ukuthi uma abantu labo kutholakala benechashaza kuvezwe ukuthi mhlambe umuntu nangu usibanibani unechashaza elingaka, mhlambe nangu bani yena waphatha kabi 2 million, into enjalo nje kungasiza lokho ukuthi injumbane yaziwe ngempela ukuthi ikhonjwa ibhekiswa kobani. Speaker, mhlambe ngoba isikhathi enginaso sincane ngiyathanda futhi ukubongela Speaker ngeqhaza owalithatha ngesikhathi ni reverse i-appointment kamama okade eyimeya eThekwini. Ngiyabonga kakhulu kwaba right decision enhle leyo enayithathayo. Speaker, ngale kwalokho okuningi bengikubhalile ngizokhuluma ngakho uhlabangane kade presenter ukunikeza ama-answers ngakho konke. Ngiyabonga kakhulu ke Speaker, siyayiseka ibudget kamama ukuthi ekwazi eqhubekele ukuzama i-department ibe ngcono.
Honorable Rajbansi. Honorable members, we cannot get hold of Honorable Thakur Rajbansi, and her cell phone is on voicemail. We are now moving from her. I have ruled that we are moving from her because we are trying to get indication of her whereabouts. We are now going to Honorable P. Govender of the IFP for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you know, it is unfortunate that in this department, corruption has reached alarming proportions. With regard to the supply of PPEs, 11 service providers, some of them not compliant with Treasury regulations, received contracts from the department. It is evident that proper vetting of the potential service providers was not done. Suddenly, we saw a whole lot of new suppliers of PPE springing up all over the place and securing huge contracts with the assistance of well-placed and corrupt officials within the department. Honorable Speaker, even though the Honorable Premier acted swiftly in investigating the blanket saga, we then heard about the 25 million rand that was paid to 3 NPOs to supply food parcels in 3 clusters across KwaZulu-Natal. The department was supposed to deliver 88,454 food parcels per month in July and August, but only delivered 1,025 in both months. The portfolio committee was not satisfied with the excuses that we were given for the non-delivery and lack of accountability. We were told that there were logistical problems with the delivery processes. But the IFP will argue, Honorable Speaker, that surely government officials knew of the challenges before awarding contracts to service providers that did not have capacity. The fact that the department had to provide the NGOs with trucks, buckies, forklifts, and even petrol cards tells us that the NGOs did not have the capacity to fulfill its obligations. The question that arises are why were under-resourced NPOs chosen? When were the vehicles purchased? Do these vehicles now belong to the department? What were they used for if food parcels were not delivered? And how much of money was spent on the petrol cards and for what purpose? The list of questions is endless. It is clear that there were contraventions of sections 38, 39, 40, 45 and 81 of the PFMA in both these procurements. The IFP is urging all government departments to blacklist companies and individuals who have been found to be complicit in corruption. Honorable Speaker, whilst the world and our country faces the challenges of COVID-19 pandemic, this department is facing a virus of incompetence and corruption on a massive scale. Of late, this department has been making the news for all the wrong reasons. Honorable Speaker, it is said that greed is an unquenchable thirst. It is like drinking salt water. The more salt water you drink, the more thirsty you become, and the greed deepens. If the Honorable MEC and the Honorable Premier are indeed sincere about clean governance and rooting out corruption, then the investigation into the blanket and food parcel sagas must be fast-tracked and taken to its logical conclusion. If officials who have been implicated and suspended are found to be complicit in corruption, they must be charged, and if guilty, they must go to jail. Only when we see officials wearing orange overalls instead of black suits will a clear message be sent to other would-be thieves within government departments. When the Honorable Premier took office, he made a commitment to clean governance and consequence management. We need to see tangible consequences for those who are found to be stealing from the public purse. The theft of taxpayers' money must not be allowed to continue, Honorable Speaker. Officials who steal from the poorest of the poor cannot even be called vultures because vultures feed off the dead. But these unscrupulous officials are feeding off human beings who they are paid to serve. These officials are holding senior positions in the department and are being paid well, but they still steal from the poor. Such individuals have no place in government departments, let alone the Department of Social Development. The IFP will continue to be the moral compass against fraud, corruption, and maladministration. I want to urge the Honorable MEC to stop being soft on these corrupt officials within the department. Do not accept feeble excuses. Honorable MEC, you are being too soft on them, and they are running rings around you, and they think that they can continue to steal from the poorest of the poor. I want to take this opportunity to say that the IFP supports the adjusted budget of the Department of Social Development for 2020-2021. And I want to wish all Hindus who might be celebrating the month of Pratasi, where they fast for the entire month, all the very best for the future. And may their prayers help to rid this department of corruption and remove corrupt officials from departments wherever they might be serving. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The last member I am calling is Honorable N.R. Majola of the ANC for 12 minutes.
Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Thakur Rajpansi.
Yeah, sorry, Honorable Speaker. Can I crave your indulgence? Can I speak even maybe after Honorable Majola, because I was on a webinar and I just got off that webinar as well in between this program.
You know, Honorable Rajpansi, we tried to even phone you.
Yeah, but I sent a message on the group.
May I please finish, Honorable Member?
Sorry.
We tried to even phone you. It becomes the responsibility of the member to manage their time. I will crave you this once. You can speak now for your 2 minutes. Take your 2 minutes now.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Right, honorable members, DSD is supposed to care for the most vulnerable in normal circumstances. Can you imagine what happens to this cohort and others during a disaster like a health pandemic? This department, clearly from our budget hearings, had been given sufficient money, but some officials chose to make hay while the sun shines. And they really did not do proper planning with the budget that was allocated. DSD, of course, deals with basic needs like blankets and food parcels for vulnerable peoples. But poor planning, new staffing needs, indicators for cooperatives that are not costed for, which then should not have been in DSD but should rather remain in ETIA, overseen by the Premier's office, are some of the issues that are requiring attention. The food parcel debacle is really tragic, and the MA believes that the Cabinet should urgently have sight of the department's hybrid model to ensure that officials with relevant project management skills intervene and get food to people who are still hankering for the 350 Rand from SASSA, which is like a 40 car engine really, that needs to be kick-started all the time. DSD had underspent in the third and fourth quarters in the previous financial years by less than 25%. Therefore, during this crisis, there's a dire need for M&E officials to diligently follow this adjusted budget and to ensure its appropriate usage. The 88,000 food parcels at a cost of 25 million for a 3-month distribution only accounts for 60,000 food parcels. So what has happened to the 18,000 food parcels, honourable members, when some of the districts were not even covered by the remaining 3 SRD clusters? The MF, after a very long time, honourable members, became very exasperated during this budget hearing because these times, social development has to revert to the cornerstone of being social welfare. Therefore, the Honourable MEC and our people, they do need support, Honourable Premier, and therefore, because we want to support this budget and vulnerable people, the MF supports this budget.
I now call upon the next member to participate, Honourable N.R. Majola, for 12 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. Honourable Speaker, Honourable Deputy Speaker, Honourable Premier, members of the Executive, Honourable members, Honourable MEC Ms. Nonhlanhla Khoza, departmental officials of the DSD, led by Ms. Nelisiwe Vilakazi, the HOD, we greet you all. I wish to send words of condolences to the family of Mboto, one of our RTT members in the Lower South region. Sithi umoya wakhe ungalala ngoxolo. Chairperson, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to share the successes we have notched and the lessons we have learned as we battled the COVID-19 pandemic and its effect on the poor. Before saying much, I wish to pass my condolences to all who have succumbed to this disease, both from the departments as well as our family members at home, wishing speedy recovery to all those infected. Without wasting time, I wish I can go past Honourable Rabi when she is instructing the Premier to remove MEC from her position. I would say, udakwa ngumbuso. Honourable Speaker, if there was a government that has been cruel, it was the government of the Amadlagusha from back in 1652. They made this department to be so unholy. Its design, both in social services system and implementation, was highly entrenched with socio-economic privileges of the white population, with no consideration of South African masses. As they are sitting there, they are clear that the social plight of this country was destroyed by them criminally. When she is mentioning the issue of the cash cow, it is what was being done by her forefathers long time ago. The issue with this government is this: we are transparent because we are the government of the people, by the people, and we even let them in to participate and be able to have some words. I wish to quote, Honourable Speaker, words of the struggle icon, Mr. Thembisile Chris, in times like this, when he said, I open quote, socialism is about the decent shelter for those who are homeless. It is about water for those who have no safe drinking water. It is about healthcare. It is about a life of dignity for the old. It is about overcoming the huge divide between urban and rural areas. It's also about a decent education for all our people. Socialism is about rolling back the tyranny of the market. As long as the economy is dominated by an unelected privileged few, the case for socialism will exist. The MEC of Finance tabled the adjustment budget as a response to what can be regarded as the immediate triple challenges of COVID-19. This has not only deepened the economic crisis, but has further deepened the struggles in many of our households to make ends meet. This has also worsened the scourge of gender-based violence. The reprioritized budget takes cue from the call by President Cyril Ramaphosa in April this year to the effect that we must aim to return our economy to where it was before coronavirus. This has demanded a lot from research sector in skill development and innovation in doing things, as we are not dealing with normal situation. South African economy has been turned upside down and brought about by the broadest collapse in per capita income since 1870. We have read the news saying throughout the world, tens of millions of workers have lost their jobs, and in South Africa, unemployment has increased by 1%, reaching 30.1% in the first 3 months of this year. This means that contraction of South African economy will go to 7.2% in 2020. This is the largest contraction in nearly 90 years. The inflation rate likely to register 3.1% in 2020. Chairperson, on the 22nd of July 2020, one of our stalwarts, our servant of the people, who inspired all of us, Mr. Themba Linus Dlamini, was laid to rest. He was one of the Lutuli detachment, which was a metaphor for freedom and through the sweat of the oppressed brow, and represented the possibility of victory against the system until then thought to be impregnable. He once said, open quote, "We have political independence, but we do not have economic independence. But economic independence. Chairperson, the issue of inequality has been brought in before during this time of COVID-19. We can no longer run away from our deep-seated fault lines. The realities of the form and content our independence had to be confronted. Yes, the virus has impacted on every person, the sector, business, culture, and religion. Our entire way of life, resilience, and survival have been determined by which side of the tracks one is born. Chairperson, members would know that in the South African context, one side of the tracks is closely related to race, class, and gender. Nothing brought this reality to the fore as did the inherited apartheid spatial planning and inherited realities of the majority. I will cite the issue of technology, which proved to be an answer to a safe and accessible education. We have to agree that the digital divide has reinforced existing social economic inequalities, and that led to limited access to information, health and education for the majority. I wish to quote the words of the Secretary General of the United Nations during this year's Mandela lecture, when he said, open quote, "It is exposing fallacies and falsehood everywhere." Close quote. The understanding of the falsehood I would mention, which is seen by even a newborn, is to say we live in a gender equal society. Speaker, no, we are not yet in there. Our country is a male-dominated one, where women are discriminated upon and oppressed simply because of their gender. Speaker, I am saying this because this COVID-19 has revealed a spike in gender-based violence. Gender inequality to me means that our country will never reach its potential fully because we miss out on the talents and intelligence of more than half of our population, that is women. Having mentioned this, it becomes clear that our response to COVID-19 had to factor in these glaring realities that we cannot run away from. This budget vote 13 is part of a society-wide response we hope to contribute to equality and creation of jobs through a responsive, developmental, and empowering state. Such a state actively contributes towards resilient, vibrant, sustainable, and climate-smart communities. It has been so unfortunate that the first case of COVID-19 set in without even having enough time to communicate it to our communities. And that had a negative impact as far as the knowledge on this pandemic is concerned. We were then left with no choices but to rope in technology, which is only available in certain layers of the society. We could not get community participation as per the fundamental features of the district development model. Speaker, the Department of Social Development provides social protection services and leads the government's efforts to build partnerships through which vulnerable groups and communities become capable and active participants of their own development. Speaker, the department had its main appropriation of 3.8 billion in 2020-2021 for delivery of 5 programs. All these programs are dealing with critical indicators highly affecting our communities. The coming of COVID-19 pandemic has forced the department to reprioritize its budget in response to the pandemic. It should be noted that it was not only reprioritization but also the reduction of the department's budget by 64.2 million for the purpose of funding the provincial response to COVID-19. This has left the department with huge negative impact on service delivery. All those funds were repurposed for Program 2 as the lead program for COVID-19. Program 3 is currently less 81 million true environments, meaning that services for children and families, all those indicators and targets will be highly affected. This is affecting the department in the sense that if these reductions are involving compensation of employees, the hiring of more of social workers as planned initially will not be possible. Speaker, COVID-19 has brought more of psychosocial problems by virtue of its management. Disease itself multiplied by forced quarantine to combat COVID-19 applied by nationwide lockdowns has produced acute panic, anxiety, obsessive behaviors, hoarding, paranoia, and depression, as well as post-traumatic disorders. I'm saying this in the light of this reduction because when adding up it amounts to approximately 120 million in a department that has got high numbers of child abuse statistics even before COVID-19. COVID-19 is here with its own realities, where most children are left as orphans. Initial purpose of hiring more social workers was informed by the nature of the social circumstances in our communities. The cutting of 38 million together with 81 million, adding up to this 120 million, it was inevitable. Yes, we agree. This will necessitate innovative ways of closing that gap, whether we do it through the health and welfare sector leaderships, coming up with auxiliary social workers category that will assist. Chairperson, we must be proud of this government because prior to 1994, the corruption index of apartheid South African government was ranked below 50, which indicated serious corruption problem. We are happy to reveal that the fact that in 2017, Transparency International Corruption Perception Index assigned South Africa an index of 71 out of 180 countries since 1994. We are resolute that corruption does not have a space in this government. I want to put it categorically that as ANC, we have position on corruption, hence investigations are in progress. Some produced reports in front of the committees with outcomes of suspension. To be specific, we have got 13 officials that are now on suspension. As I conclude, Chair, let me quote the wise words of Umama Sisulu when she said, "We are each required to walk our own road and then stop, assess what we have learned and share it with others. It is only this way that the next generation can learn from those who walked before them. We can do more than tell our story. Then it is up to them to make of it what they will." Close quote. The ANC support the budget adjustment. I would say we appreciate all the efforts that have been done by MEC, going up and down in each and every areas that have been affected by gender-based violence, as I have stated. As we are looking at our societies, we are not dealing with the societies that are normal. There are so many issues involved. We have got homes that are being run by children because of the loss of their parents. It's either through the HIV and AIDS, and some of them through the issue of this COVID-19 pandemic that has come in. So whatever that has been done as a mitigating factor in each and every family that has been affected, we appreciate, Honorable MEC, continue doing the good. But the only thing that we will never...
Thank you, Honorable Member. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker.
The next speaker for 9 minutes. The next speaker for 9 minutes to respond to the debate will be the Honorable MEC for Social Development, Mrs. M. Khoza.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I would like to thank all honorable members who participated in this debate. Some of them have been very much progressive in their contribution. Thank you so much. We hope that will strengthen our work as social development. But I want to respond in some of, I won't mention each one by name, but I want to respond in some of the concerns. Honorable Chairperson, I want to set a record straight here. Under distribution of food parcels, as of now, we want to thank the food which is distributed through donors. There's been donated food, about 18,200 food parcels have been distributed so far. And the MEC has been up and running with that program. It has been a program on its own, and our families and other members can attest to that. Even the honorable members in this house can attest to that. Number two, under the distribution of the food parcels, which are for 25 million, those should be distributed from July, August, and September. As of now, the distribution still continues, and we are expecting to distribute 20,000 this quarter. Up to this far, 5,375 has been distributed. We didn't use new people or some people appointed by this MEC. We had just used the NPOs who have been doing the work within the department. The NPOs which has been supported by the department all these years. They were appointed in 2018. The NPO is Insigazi, Widowed Women of South Africa, WOSA, and Healing Peps. They are not new to the field of distribution of food parcels. They have been there doing it. That's why, as of now, we are expecting them to distribute food, about 20,000 of food parcels. That's what we are expecting them to do. As of now, we have given them 25 million rands. We are expecting them to speed up the process. But on the other hand, we are not waiting for them. We are looking at all avenues. We have developed a hybrid model which talks to vouchers, because we are not pleased in the manner in which food parcels are distributed. More of the funds go to operational costs. You get a food parcel for 1.3 thousand, but it goes to a person, the person who is at the receiving end receive food for 700 maybe. You can see how the operational costs take all that food from a vulnerable person. So that's why we are saying, let us put more dignity to individuals, and let us introduce the voucher system, whereby a person will be getting food for 1,350 if the 1,350 food parcel is due to her. Under blankets, the blankets, it is unfortunate that during the investigation, when the process was going on, the officials were reluctant to distribute blankets, waiting until the investigation is finished. I once said we went to the area of Escort at some point. I got a shock of my life when people were sleeping on the floor on cardboards, whereby we still have a lot of blankets, just because the officials did not want to get closer to distribution of blankets. As of now, as of today, we have managed to distribute 23,880 blankets to the needy families, to the deserving people, to the homeless people. That's what we have as of now. But with that, I want to just speak to Honorable Raba. This one is just dedicated to her, because we have, for me, we have different mandates and different agenda myself and Honorable Rabe. Can I read you a letter which was written by Honorable Helen Zille at some point, dated the 25th May 2009. It was written to Mr. Gupta, Atul Gupta. It reads thus: Dear Mr. Gupta, thank you so much for your generous donation to the Democratic Alliance. Your financial contribution helped us to achieve our 3 key objectives in the recent election. 1, keeping the ANC below a 2/3 majority. 2, significantly consolidating our position as the official opposition in parliament. 3, winning our outright majority in the Western Cape. I've just get to a quarter, just a quarter, half a page, but it shows that there's nothing significant about serving the people. The mission of Honorable Rabe is to reduce figures of the ANC, not focusing at delivering service to the poor as of now. So I'm of the view that she's just doing that. You cannot grandstand whilst people are suffering. You cannot grandstand whilst people need food. And to attest to that, Honorable Chairperson, in the Western Cape, the Department of Education, MEC, it is taken as just a probe, as little as a probe, whereby the probe of 111.8 million of PPEs contract is just taken as a probe. But with us in the KZN, it is investigation. It is just because always corruption is associated with ANC and blacks, whilst on the other hand, it is collusion. Corruption is called collusion, and probe. Investigations are just probe, are just a byway.
Speaker.
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Rogers, you want to speak?
Yes, I'm standing on a point of order, Madam Speaker. I'd like to indicate that at no stage did anyone in this debate refer to corruption being that of black people. I would like to request that the MEC recalls that or withdraws that statement. It's in fact...
No, the MEC is making a point of debate, Honorable Rogers.
I'm also raising a point of debate. It's in fact an inaccuracy, and it's a lie. It's an absolute lie.
No, Honorable Rogers,
point of order.
you raised a point of order. And I'm telling you that the MEC is responding to a debate. What you are raising, you want to debate a debate that has come and ended. The MEC is raising her responses, politically so, to a debate. She is...
disagree with you, Speaker.
It's fair. You know what to do when you are disagreeing with the ruling. Honorable MEC, are you finished with your responses, ma'am? Honorable members.
Honorable Speaker, the letter I'm talking to is the letter which was written by...
Point of order, Speaker. Point of order, Speaker.
Honorable MEC, I was asking whether you were done so that we can move on.
I'm done, Honorable Speaker. Okay. Thank you so much.
We're coming to you, Honorable Rogers. What is your point of order, sir?
My point of order was that the MEC said she'd concluded, so she's not allowed an opportunity to continue.
I couldn't have heard because you were raising a point of order that was not a point of order, sir. May we now get back to the business of the House? Now that we have finished the debate, I want to send my sincere appreciation to all of you. Appreciation and gratitude to all members for being in the House. and for participating in the debate and the manner that you've conducted yourselves. I can see that you are looking forward to level 1 so that you can actually see each other and really be yourselves. I also appreciate the Deputy Chair of Committees as a presiding officer for being there to assist today. Honorable members, before we close, we want to remind parties that we had adopted ad hoc committee for COPA to work on the forensic investigations. And it was also saying that parties would be submitting. Most parties have not submitted. I am reminding you to submit. And I'm also reminding you to submit in terms of the ad hoc committee that we have adopted yesterday. It's just a reminder to whips of parties. Do ensure that your parties send the representations from your parties to serve in those ad hoc committees so that we can appoint them officially. With that said, honorable members, thank you. The House is adjourned till tomorrow morning.
Order, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.